Welcome in on this Wednesday, March the 25th. Cool today, going to be warm tomorrow. I'm going to make it to 80 tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the show. Coming up in a minute, top and not top story. Ryan Silverfield, the University of Memphis football coach, will join us at 3:30. Our friend down in Tampa, TJ Reeves. There's an NFL story today about Ndamukong Suh returning to the Buccaneers, a one-year, $8 million deal. Maybe we can chat with him about that. The business of sports, or lack thereof. Rick Horrow, our professor from Harvard, he'll be joining us at 4:30. The man who was the winner of the Ben Jobe Award a year ago, a former Tiger coach and a great head coach, and he's going to be a big-timer someday. Damon Stoudemire, the former Grizzly great. He'll be joining us at 5 o'clock, and then crunch time coming your way at 5:50. I'm in the Family Leisure Studios, really the Flynn Broadcasting Center here in East Memphis, in his home away, being socially distant for a good reason, our good friend Brett Norsworth. How are you today?
Great, Dave. Glad to be with you on this day 13 of no sports due to COVID-19. It was 2 weeks ago tonight during the game that Rudy Gobert stopped, and you texted me. You were already to Fort Worth, and we may talk about that every Wednesday for the rest of our lives. And today, Mark Cuban from the NBA, and I love his optimism. I like Mark Cuban. I like what he stands for and what he's all about. And he said today, if June the 1st was the over and under for the NBA starting back, he would bet the under. So he's saying May, a resumption of the 2019-2020 season. And I hope that's the case, because tonight it would have been Grizzlies against the Celtics at FedEx Forum, and tonight's the 8th missed game. After tonight, only 9 left if we had been playing.
I respect a lot about what Mark Cuban does and what Mark Cuban has to say, but if I were the betting man in this one, I would not agree with him. I would take the over because we haven't gotten anywhere near the top of whatever curve that we're going to anticipate. And I want to go over this because it was stunning to me when I realized the scenario that was painted to the mayors and to the governor, I suspect, but why Jim Strickland decided to safer at home, the philosophy which we also, know as shelter in place. And this is, to me, stunning. You probably have heard this or read this already, many of you, and I'm sure, Brett, you have. But this was the scenario, or the scenarios that were painted by Manoj Jain. He is the doctor, and we had him on the air. We'll do that again at some point. But he is the doctor that is paid by the city to advise them on what way to go in terms of the coronavirus pandemic.
He's our Anthony Fauci.
And for the Shelby County, the counterpart is Elisa Haushalter. So here's we should. Here's the scenarios that they painted to the local officials when they decided to put into place the 2-week safer at home. So the worst case scenario for Shelby County, or maybe it's the metro area, but the worst case scenario is 405,186 would get the coronavirus. That's in this metro, which is 1.2 million, 405,000. Hold on. Because needing hospitalization as serious as the ICU, 40,519. This is the worst case scenario painted by the doctors. Dying from this pandemic. If we hadn't done what we're doing now, the death was forecasted at 8,104. Worst case scenario. Again, 405,000, 40,000 in the ICU, 8,100 passing away. The mid-case scenario, and this drops appreciably, 184,087 would get the coronavirus. 9,000.
That's a gigantic number.
It's still a gigantic number. 9,454 would need hospitalization as badly as an ICU, and 1,891 would pass away. That's the middle scenario. The best case scenario, and this is because we are doing what we are doing, the best case scenario is 13,506 would get the disease. We are today in the metro area at 704. 13,506 get it. 338 need to be hospitalized in an ICU. 68 would die. That's the best case scenario. And that is why
and so far
Mayor Strickland did what he did. Go ahead.
Well, and I applaud them. They have to act on these scenarios. They can't sit by and go, well, I hope the math's wrong. No, they have to act on that. Right now, in the state of Tennessee, with most of the cases coming from Memphis and Nashville, there are 906 cases with 3 deaths total statewide. But we are not near the peak. We're not near the top of the curve. It could be middle to latter part of April into May, and maybe longer for that. But when you get presented with those kind of numbers, if you're in the public service business, you got to think about the public writ large, and they have. I hope at the end of this we can look back and go, boy, those numbers were preposterous. They were way too high. That would be a gigantic win, Dave.
Well, I hope that you're right, and I do think that because we are following the mayor's orders for the most part, and I just drove here and we go back to Monday. Honestly, there were a lot of cars on the road. Last Thursday there weren't that many. On Monday, Brett, when I drove here, I am telling you, I didn't see the normal traffic, but it was more than I had anticipated based on last Thursday and Friday. Today, hardly anybody. And so the folks are heeding the mayor's call. Let me point out one other statistic here, and during the top and not, as I have been doing and will continue, I'll give you the dashboard and where we all stand. But 38% of the cases so far in the metro area, 38% of those that have caught the coronavirus are between the ages of 21 and 40. So those who think they're invincible, all those crazy college students that were down in Florida, they're not invincible. 21 to 40, 38% of those that have caught the virus.
And very sadly, yesterday in Los Angeles, a 7-week-old newborn perished from it in California. That was one, and it was in California. But no, I don't think anybody is exempt from it. And today, of notoriety, of fame, Prince Charles. I texted you earlier today.
Oh, Jackson Brown.
I heard this because we both love him. And Jackson Brown, I don't know. I was shocked and saddened by that, and even more shocked. Jackson Brown, 71. I didn't realize that, but the numbers are starting to get overwhelming.
Don't you remember? He says when he was how old he is when he was running up 101 in the song "Running on Empty."
Yeah,
I always knew he was 71 based on that. Yeah. Oh,
that's right.
Yeah.
And in Italy now, 10%. That number is now into double digits. 10% in Italy, with 683 new deaths, 7,500 total out of 75,000. So 10%. We've gone up from this time yesterday. We were at 1.26. We're to 1.39% in the United States. You look at the United Kingdom. 5.26%, almost 8% in Iran, 7% in Spain. I'm rounding off, but it's something. And in New York, it's terrifying. And now the hot spot seems to be Louisiana and New Orleans. Yep. That's really close, and a lot of it, the common denominator feels like Mardi Gras, and that's around the 23rd, 24th, 25th of February. So it's really just now manifesting some 30 days later.
Right. If you really think about it, 3 areas that are the hot spots in America: the Bay Area, New York City, and New Orleans, all ports.
That's accurate.
All ports. So
that's accurate.
I want to go
very international and
yeah. Let me go back to Mark Cuban's comments here on the over/under. If the NBA really tried to do that, I mean, I think it would be almost impossible to get that done, because first of all, the first step is you have to have gatherings of more than 10 people for your team to be able to meet and start to train, right? And we're still in lockdown for another 10 days or whatever it is. And then I don't know, once you get out, will there be more than 10 people allowed to meet together? That's a timetable that has to be taken into account. And then once you get past that, now every NBA player would probably, because there has been so many different teams that have been affected, you would think once we have enough tests for everybody to go around, and maybe by then you will, but every player is going to have to be tested, correctly. Then once you're tested, you can start to practice. You're going to need a week or two to practice to get into NBA shape. Now, where are you?
Test?
Where are you? And probably a second test, because it would be total disaster if they went back to play. Now, let's say they just started with the playoffs. They went back to play, and all of a sudden somebody ended up getting sick again. That's the end of it. So
that's the end of it. Dave, I just don't think we can reboot and shut it down again.
No. Well, you wouldn't reboot and shut it down again thinking you could continue this year. I mean, that would be the end of the season. That's why, to me, July 1st is the thing that makes the most sense, because I think if everything continues to go the way it did in China, they're at 91% recovery today. If everything went that way, then you could say, okay, maybe by July 1st, all the stages I just talked about could be implemented and gone through, and you would feel a sense of security doing it. But I don't see how you could do it before.
Almost by the day, not a lot, but a central theme, and you see it on Twitter. You hear it expressed in your circles and among your friends and people. But almost daily, we get not a lot of them, but a central theme from a texter of hype, overblown. Y'all bought into it. Don't be so such scaredy cats. All I can say is I hope in 6, 8, 10 weeks, 6 months, a year, 2 years, you are very right. I said early on there was going to be no in between in this. Somebody was going to be real right or real wrong. And when I see New York City and New Orleans and the Bay Area and other places, and then you think about worldwide, I don't know how you could say that this is contrived. I'm just not there.
Well, everybody's entitled to their own opinions, but I am certain stats that when the
not entitled to their own facts.
When the mosquito epidemic started in Memphis way back when, which just about wiped out the city, I'm sure there were people that said, "Oh, come on, this little mosquito? Are you kidding me?" I'm not.
They're out every year.
102 years ago when you had the Spanish flu. And 600,000 people perished. I guarantee you there were the people that were saying, what? It's just a cold. Don't worry about it.
That's right.
And I
Dave,
promise you.
A wrong clock is right twice a day.
Right. And I promise you that the people that say that the first time one member of their family has it, they will have a whole different perspective on this. I don't wish that on them by any means. I certainly do not.
Not at all.
But I
hope they're right. I don't think they are, though.
If I am totally wrong, I apologize, and I'm an idiot. But I would rather be an idiot erring on the side of caution.
I don't think there's anything to apologize for, Dave.
No.
I don't think there's anything to apologize for.
Yeah.
When you're getting the numbers presented to you by those staffers like the mayor's getting and both the Shelby County infectious disease doctor and the city of, and what the president of the United States getting, what the governor of New York's getting, I'm gonna go with that.
I am too. And when I see a worst case scenario of 405,000 getting it, 40,500 in the hospital, and 8,100 dying if we don't do what we're doing, then I'm saying that possibility, just that possibility, makes me want to react. And thank goodness we have. Every day at this time, we do, in just a second, a thing we call Top and Not Top Story.
This hour brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Give them a call at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis offering the Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Great offers on all 2020 models and always on special lease options. If you've ever thought I'd look great in a Lexus, well, guess what? Lexus of Memphis thinks you would look great in a Lexus as well. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and driving in style. Lexus of Memphis, the highest standards in the industry. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com, 901-362-8833. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
So now my new tradition is to give you the coronavirus dashboard, and this is from about an hour to an hour and a half ago. So the numbers may be up, but as of about 2 o'clock, 184 countries out of the 195 in the world now have the pandemic. 461,661 people have caught the coronavirus. 20,754 have now perished because of it. 170 cases in Shelby, 218 in the metro, or 218, in the metro area. And again, 38% of those between the ages of 21 and 40. In the state, it's now 704. In the state of Mississippi, 377. As Brett mentioned earlier, people like Jackson Brown now have caught the coronavirus. Today, the Who Hotel, some people might know it as the Hugh. It used to be the Madison. That hotel and the DoubleTree have closed, at least temporarily. You may recall last week when we had Kevin Kane on the air with us from the Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Memphis Sports Council. He warned there would be hotels closing, and we've seen 2 of those downtown that have closed today. The only positive number I can give you from the dashboard is that China, which is about, 60 to 80 days ahead of us in this pandemic, it's where it started. China is now 91% recovered, according to the dashboard.
And Dave, this will be studied by medical schools, by political types. This will be talked about, researched, and studied forever. I want somebody to tell me why in Germany their fatality rate, when everybody now has a number in front of the point, they're still hanging at 0.55. Germany at 0.55, while you in Sweden 1.74, in Brazil 2.09, and so forth. In Portugal 1.44. My top story: Carl Anthony Towns, very moving tribute to his very ill mother as she lays gravely sick in the hospital. The toll for all of us, everywhere, the famous and the not famous, everybody in every walk of life, it grows exponentially, with all the experts predicting the real bomb to hit in April and May. Almost impossible to escape the severity of it, with all the 211 confirmed cases just with the New York City Police Department. I'm afraid the nightmare has hit.
If it hasn't totally hit yet, we've begun, I think. I hate to say this, but it appears to me that we've just begun the nightmare, and we're going to have a good month of a nightmare.
Not top story of the day.
Well, I go back to the Carl Anthony Towns case. His mother medically induced into coma now. He talked about it. He held a press conference urging public safety over coronavirus. And in that, he said he went to see his mother. And, she said difficult things to him. And it was hard for him to imagine. Both of his parents have caught the coronavirus. This is so close to all of us now and just getting closer.
My not top story tonight would have been the one and only trip to Memphis for the famed Boston Celtics. It is the 8th game missed. There would scheduled only to be 9 games left after tonight. Now, no way any NBA games, I think, played before middle of May. If Mark Cuban is correct about his under, it'll just be barely under, but I hope he's right. It will be some scheduling ordeal, as it has been for everyone and everything and around sports. And one of the sadder aspects of this, it was a great New York Times story. I retweeted it. Many people, it was retweeted roundly. You can find it quite easily. How terrible it is on the people that are ill, that they're there dying alone. They can't have family come by and comfort them bedside. And then after they pass, most funeral services everywhere in the country is graveside, no visitation, no frills, hardly even the respectful way like we're accustomed to say goodbye to the decedent.
And those are your top and your not top stories of the day. Again, we mentioned Ryan Silverfield's going to join us in a minute. What does a football coach do when you really can't gather with people? I don't even know, and I'll ask him this. How is athletes will be able to, unless they have gyms in their home, how they are exercising? I think that's probably a problem for everybody. I know you can get out and walk or you can ride your bike, but if you wanted a workout in the gym, lifting weight, unless you have one in your home, that is probably a difficult thing to do. TJ Reeves, we mentioned, will join us as well. TJ has been involved in a podcast going over Sweet 16s and Elite 8 games, and I know he's enjoying that. We'll ask him about that. And again, I'm curious, Rick Horo's thoughts now that we know that the Olympics have been canceled officially. And Brett, I saw this figure, or heard this figure last night, and somebody reported it. And I don't know how they know, but I'm assuming they're right, but Rick will straighten us out, that just by that cancellation for a year will cost the Tokyo Games $25 million.
Oh, I saw a bigger number than that,
You
Dave.
did?
I saw $5 billion in potential losses for Tokyo and the Japanese government if they don't have it. But it's a real shame because the Japanese people were so looking forward to having it for the first time since 1964, the Summer Olympics since 1964, and they were left with no alternative.
No. Well, it was the timetable I just sort of went over with the NBA. You realize the Olympic teams, not only can the athletes not really practice or stay in the shape that they were to train, but we hadn't picked our teams yet. How are you going to qualify your team? You have to have those competitions. When would you have done that? It was just sort of an impossible thing. And, I guess I've heard about the IOC taking a lot of heat, and it took Canada and Australia and Germany and really our track and our swim teams to put the pressure on them. But they were just trying to buy themselves some time. But in the end, it was pretty obvious. I'm not going to pile on either. They 4 months before the games, they called it. Really.
And let me be clear. For anybody ask or text, Brett's not going to pile on. No time for Monday morning quarterback. No time for second guessing. Don't want to rip on the authorities. Look, if we're on the track to no WGC, FESJI in Memphis, if we're on the track to no college football, I'll say the same thing then too. I don't want to pile on, and I don't want to be Mr. Second Guesser.
No. I'm with you all the way. We take a quick time out. When we come back, I look forward to chatting with, and I read a story that was written about Ryan and what he's doing, and he goes, there's there's really no manual for what we're facing right now. No spring, and how they'll try to make that up if indeed we have a college football season. It will be interesting to hear from the University of Memphis head football coach. He comes your way in just 1 minute. I'll let you know this portion of the show is brought to you by my friends at the Eflin Insurance Group. And now there's two of those who are really experienced and know what they're doing when it comes to insurance. Not only is it Matt Eflin, but the Linder Group with Britt Linder is involved as well. If we do all the math, that means we're going back to a locally owned and operated business that's been around in our communities since 1955. We're talking 300 years of combined insurance experience. So with that, you get access to a multitude of A-rated carriers. And these guys are service first. That's the way the agency should be. Matt's been that way forever. So is Britt. And they specialize in home, auto, umbrella, and small to mid-sized commercial accounts. We're talking business and family. And they do this the same way. And Matt's been doing this forever. It's all about sitting you down and evaluating. He'll ask you if it's about your family, if it's personal insurance, home, life, health, whatever it takes. He finds the products to make sure your family is taken care of. If it's business, he'll forecast it out 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, however long you think you'll be in business. What's the most important thing to make sure your product is secure? He finds that product for you, and then you feel as if there is a sense of protection. And that's what you want. And if you're interested in that, it's a real easy process. Call 757-2315, 757-2315. If you're a Tiger fan, a special number for you, 386-GRR. That's 386-4777. Those are the numbers to the Eflin Insurance Group. Back here in a minute with Ryan Silverfield. That's next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Peter Edmiston and CJ Hertz. Right here on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
Start your day at Sunrise Memphis. Located in Midtown, enjoy delicious biscuit sandwiches and all their menu has to offer with quick and easy to-go and delivery options. Whether it's breakfast, brunch, or lunch, don't distance yourself from great food. For more information on Sunrise Memphis, visit sunrise901.com or call 901-552-3144 to place your order. Stay healthy and eat Sunrise Memphis today.
Now, a tournament flashback. In one of the 4-2 versus 3 seed games last year, Kentucky faced the tough defense of Houston.
Get it to Hero on the outside. He feeds Washington inside. 2 men on him. Shot. Good to the foul. P.J. Washington just willed that ball into the net. And he's got an opportunity to tie this up with 55.8 to go.
The Wildcats outlasted the Cougars to win 62-58 and advanced to the Elite Eight for the 3rd straight year.
Getting the job done right means working with a team as dedicated to your business as you are. Introducing the Lowe's for Pros loyalty program, built just for pros. Get personalized offers based on the supplies you use most. Track purchases and never miss a beat. And get the tools to manage your business. Why? Because you're the one sweating the details every day. And it's time someone had your back. Enroll today at lowesforpros.com. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's.
And now another edition of Obvious News from Geico.
Obvious News!
Experts now say that wearing more clothes in the winter will, in fact, help you be warmer. We asked cold victim Trent Patterson about this, and here's what he said.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. I was a little cold, put on a sweater, then wasn't cold. I was like, what?
Also in Obvious News, Geico makes it easy to save money and easy to reach them, with licensed agents available around the clock. So switching is a really smart decision. That's Obvious News from Geico.
Obvious News!
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Do you have any idea why I never speak the way I am right now? It's because if you're honest, sincere, and knowledgeable, you do not need fast-talking, high-energy, gimmick-promising advertising to get a customer's attention. Speaking of that, how do you think companies can offer huge rebates and giveaways when you use their services or buy their products? By overcharging you in the first place, that's how. Fiveash Roofing doesn't operate that way. It's misleading and dishonest. When I provide a customer with the best products and the best service possible and do it at a fair price, why would I need gimmicks to sell it? Best products, best warranties, and best service possible. That's all we offer. Well, that and financing. 5 Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. 5 Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5 Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Welcome back in as we cruise through hour number 1 on this Wednesday. Real joy to talk with our friend Ryan Silverfield, the head football coach of the University of Memphis. And Ryan, as I bring you in, I read a nice story in the Daily Memphian. I can't remember if it was yesterday or today, but in it you were quoted as saying, we really don't have a manual for what I'm going through right now. Welcome to, I guess, being a head coach, but in the most trying and strangest of times. How are you holding up?
Good. Appreciate you guys having me on today. But holding up well. Like I've been saying since this whole thing started, it's my number one concern is the safety and welfare of our student athletes. Obviously the Memphis community and the country, but I've got 96 young men out there spread throughout. And my number one concern is their safety and welfare. So that's where my thoughts are most of the day.
How do you keep up with 96 guys when the vast majority of them are not around here?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is we've got a wonderful coaching staff and support staff, and it's truly, now more than ever, it's all hands on deck, even though we're spread out ourselves and, a lot of us working from home in different areas. But communication's got to be the number one deal, right? Especially as the student athletes at the University of Memphis have started school back this Monday. It's really, checking on their academics, right? Every day when we check on them, it's, okay, are you healthy? How are you feeling? How's your family? Okay, great. Now, here's your academic assignments, or how are you doing those? Because, when you're used to these guys being able to come up to a building for study hall or, sit down next to a tutor or academic advisor, that's one thing. And then now all of a sudden you're saying, okay, hey, you may be down in Louisiana and, you instead of getting up at 8 a.m., now you're not getting up till 9 to do these things. So it's, it's our job to keep track of all these guys. And, I'm not a computer whiz or very tech savvy, but, I've learned how to FaceTime and use Zoom and all those other wonderful tools that have allowed us to be able to keep in touch with our guys.
Coach, I'm with you. I didn't know Zoom existed. Now, I used it earlier today, and a lot of technology for us older dogs having to learn some new tricks. Isn't it, Coach? How are you? Have you sent each of your men, your young men that play for you? Have you sent them conditioning? Have you sent them diet? Have you sent them mental health, welfare? Have you sent everything to them that you want some regimen for them to follow?
Absolutely. So, the biggest thing for us is, once under the leadership of Dr. Rudd and Larry Beach, is, okay, here's what's set in place in our current plan. And we all know that for all of us, these are uncontrollable and fluid times. So, the best thing is to expect the unexpected and be able to adjust accordingly. So, with every time we create a plan is, okay, now what can we get in front of our players? And, it's an academic structure through their day, make sure they're being checked on. And then, our strength coaches have had, like you think about a lot of these guys, 99% of them have no weight equipment at their homes, wherever it is that they call home or may be. And so is it, okay, hey, is it a body weight workout? Is it, doing jumping jacks and push-ups, the old Herschel Walker workout? And so, how can we keep track of that if it's a player that may have a weight issue, whether it's weighing too much or weighing too little? Try to get to a scale if it's in a safe environment and send us a picture of that, just so we can keep tabs on them. Like I said, first and foremost, their health. Secondly, included with that is their academics. And then, okay, now from a football conditioning standpoint, making sure they're not just all sitting on the couch prior like I would have done at that age.
You're so on the money with, I guess, doing push-ups, sit-ups, as you said, Herschel Walker, just natural strength, the way he did that. Because I really was wondering, you can't go to a gym, or at least around Memphis. I know the gym that I belong to has closed down. I know a bunch of them. have closed down too. So that's a real problem. You can always go ride a bike, or you could run. I guess you can still run on the Green Line if you're in Memphis, but you're really, so you can get some cardio, but to get the basic resistance training, that's a dilemma for everybody, isn't it, Ryan?
Yeah, no question. I mean, it's, kudos to our young men. It's you see them posting even on social media. This morning, Manny Arona Lopez was somewhere in Michigan with his girlfriend in the middle of the woods, and he was doing squats. I think it was her grandmother maybe filming it, and he had her on his back, and he was being creative and a leg workout that way. And we've seen guys running in fields in the middle of nowhere, some guys in their garage, doing different things with milk jugs. And so, our young men are creative and ambitious and want to do things the right way. And that's just the biggest key. As long as they're doing it in a safe environment, I applaud them for making those efforts given these circumstances.
And going back
if
to
this were to break your way and we get the football season in, Coach Silverfield, would you like a spring in late June? Would you like an extended camp time instead of the August 1st starting date? Maybe start July 20th, just in shorts and maybe shells, maybe headgear. What would you like if we finally saw light at the end of this COVID-19 tunnel?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we actually had a conference, head coaches meeting, teleconference this morning, and kind of bouncing some ideas off each other. Biggest thing is some of our teams in our conference had already had spring ball. Or had some practices, and Arkansas State, who we opened the season with, I believe got 12 spring practices, and just like any head coach, right? The competitive advantage is on the back of the mind quite often, and so any way that we'd be able to find a way, even if it's helmets only, get some of those practices back that we weren't able to get, truly, be appreciative. But obviously, it's up to the NCAA and the guidelines, and we can have our voices. And Laird Beach and I spoke this morning actually about some of those things. Okay, hey, if this happens, and however we got to do it. Obviously, you got to be smart with the players. You don't want to overtrain them. You have to have them ready for the season. And so you find that balance, right? Like, do you bring them back for 2 weeks prior to training camp, and then do I turn it into like an OTA mentality where we're doing walkthroughs and things of that nature, just so we're able to get out on the field and throw the football? Something that, we really haven't been able to do since really December.
Well, the thing of fairness comes into my mind right off the bat. If Arkansas State, which is the team you're going to have to play, had 12 in there already, then they should have if there's an extended period when this thing starts in July, if that's the case, then it would seem that they would have limited amounts of the extended period of time compared to you. And it does get tricky. I hear what you're saying. Let's just say you got extra time. How much of that is used in pads? How much of that is just looking at video? How do you divvy that out? You have to change your whole approach, don't you?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, Dave. I mean, it's you can't sit there and say, okay, well, look, they still need to go to class. So whether it's the 20-hour rule, for football, or the 8-hour rule, in the off season, it's find that fine balance. And if it's the summer where they may be only taking 3 hours or 6 hours, and maybe you can allot for more time to get out there on the practice field. So, obviously you want your guys to be football ready in shape, whether it's lifting and running, and so you can be most physically ready team as far as conditioning and weightlifting. But also, look, how much do we need to study? We got a new defensive staff implementing a new defensive scheme where, half our team hasn't even, the understanding of what it truly is like because they haven't been on the practice field with our defensive staff. So those things, keep in the back of your mind, and you got to find a way. And I was talking to some of these other coaches. We can't all sit here and pretend like we're all geniuses and try to reinvent the wheel while our guys aren't here. We have to be creative and better teachers. So when we do get to see our guys and probably get the opportunity to be in the classroom with them, are we getting the most out of that limited time, whether it's, in a 20-hour week or 8-hour week, however that looks.
So the most difficult adjustment for you is going to be on the defensive side, right? Because you are changing scheme slightly with Mike McIntyre. He doesn't really know your personnel like you do. So I'm guessing your defensive guys are going to need a lot more work than the offensive guys who, for the most part, are all coming back, and you're using the same system that Mike Norvell used with Coach Johns in charge, and he was a big part with you of that scheme anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you do bring in a new system and new coaches, I mean, that's obviously where we would need to. Those guys, those players need to spend a lot of their focus on. Obviously, the offensive guys, got to refresh, and we got obviously new players, some great playmakers that we have to replace. But I mean, for Coach McIntyre on the defensive side, it's trying to get those guys adjusted. And I know we got the right guys on the defensive side, player-wise, and the coaching staff's phenomenal. And that's why those guys are all hired and in place. And I know they'll do a terrific job of getting the guys ready.
You got a great one in Mike McIntyre. You got a great defensive staff. Coach Ryan Silverfield, when you visit with athletics director Laird Veach, in y'all's heart of hearts, do you think we have football?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, it's I've kept nothing but optimistic attitude and a bright outlook on the way this thing is. Obviously, no one knows what the COVID-19 will look at, like, but we're all hopeful. We're all, praying and understanding that, right, the timetable to get back on April 6th may continue to get stretched longer, and a better understanding. It's just a matter of when we'll get back. There's greater things in the world to be concerned about than when football will start back. And but when it does, and I have great confidence that it will at some point, we'll be ready to roll.
Well, the other thing would be the constraints. Let's just say you go back to school on April the 6th. I guess a bunch are already really taking stuff online, but at this point you can't congregate more than 10 people. You need 100 people or more that can congregate. So you got to get to that. If they're, I mean, we're pretty much assured we're not going to get spring practice at all. Correct? Would this have to be an extension of, an extension of your fall camp if we're going to have any extra practice, right?
Right. Due to NCAA rules, it states that you cannot have spring football after final exams. So, in fact, there's obviously the rules are going up back and forth with the way this is during this environment. But we would not be able to have any type of practices prior to exams, and then after exams, spring ball is done with. So even if they're all 9 exams, the window is getting closer and closer to closing on having a traditional spring practice. So we'll see what happens. And again, a lot of that is out of our hands. I can just vote in the favor that I believe it's best for our university and our football program.
Just so far, because we've seen this thing get close to home in a lot of different areas, NBA players, Jackson Brown today, anybody from, I'm talking mainly parents here or grandparents, have there been any connections with the University of Memphis football team or staff to anybody with the coronavirus thus far?
No, sir, not to my knowledge.
That's great. I'm into that.
Keeping our fingers crossed. And the biggest thing we can do is continue to remind everybody, our student athletes and their families, and the city of Memphis, right? All those people that we know. Even while I'm, on the radio right now, it's just a reminder to be smart. Let's take this one day at a time approach and do it the right way. Abide by the rules. What's asked of us. Use social distancing. Don't leave the home unless you absolutely have to. Continue to wash your hands, and we'll get through this thing, right? We got to stay strong and united as one. And, brighter days are ahead.
Well, I certainly admire what you and the staff are doing. If you get a hold of all 96 guys every day, that is outstanding. And I know they're going to class online, and I'm with you. I don't think there will be any kind of a spring practice, but hopefully we'll get a fall practice in. And, Coach, we thank you for giving us so much of your time today.
Well, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on. And then, again, as a reminder to the city, do the right thing, guys. Be safe, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you guys face-to-face here in the near future.
That is Ryan Silverfield. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
And this is all new. This is
terrific.
All cutting-edge stuff, right? I mean,
He's going to be a big-time winner. Big time.
I agree. I agree.
What a great hire.
Couldn't have gotten a better.
Had his team so ready for Penn State. They had just a little more, but with a lot going on around that game, he had his team ready to play. And Dave, you know, I'm a bottom line left-hand column, but I don't know if I've ever thought better about a team that just ran out of time that day against Penn State.
Well, they're really, honestly, you know, you hate to say it, but what happened was, a big play made by the Penn State defense when the Tigers have the ball down less than a score,
knocking on the door.
Knocking
on the door, and
it was there.
You know, Dave, we've talked about it before. And mine was this year at the Iron Bowl. Remember, Mac Jones had the ball carry him off the Auburn defender into another Auburn player's defender and flip the field, 94 yards. I would love to have the time or somebody do the numbers on in a game where you lose by one score or maybe even two scores. What happens when you have that kind of field flipping? When you're getting ready to score, but they turn it into their score the other way, I bet the numbers are astronomically against you.
Well, because not only is that a physical advantage, that is a psychological flip.
Oh, so deflating.
That is definitely hard to overcome. We've got to take a timeout. I'll remind everybody, millions visit Memphis each year, and they will again as soon as this is done. Drawn here by the world-famous music and food, but did you know Memphis is a global destination for all the sporting events that we have, whether it's the FedEx St. Jude World Golf Championships? And, Brett, I still think that is on the table. In fact, that could be the first or second, probably at the most the third most events that will be coming for the PGA Tour pros, and so the field should be outstanding. We still have the Southern Heritage Classic, and by the time that comes around in September, hopefully that's here. The new St. Jude Ironman 70.3 triathlon, that is new. I hope they can get that in. It's all a part of Memphis tourism and the Memphis Sports Council. What a winning combination, working year-round to bring visitors and sporting events to our community to help fan the flames of economic development in Memphis and Shelby County. We really appreciate all those people and their support of this program. We are back in just 1 minute. We'll put a wrap on hour number one of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ. Listen to us daily on AM 560, 96.1 FM, or 87.7 FM.
Did you know nearly 40% of men under 40 and over 75% of men over the age of 40 experience sexual performance concerns? At the Memphis Men's Clinic, their experienced physician performs a comprehensive evaluation that determines which specific issues may interfere with your sexual performance. These issues can vary and range from anxiety to medical issues, low testosterone, or erectile dysfunction. The Memphis Men's Clinic has evaluated hundreds of men of all ages over the years and reestablished a normal sexual life. The Memphis Men's Clinic will work aggressively to resolve issues and allow you to restore your sexual health and overall well-being. That's the Memphis way. If you're 20 years old or 90 years old, come and get cared for the Memphis way. Treatment that's based on your specific needs after a professional clinical evaluation by their experienced board-certified physician. Call the Memphis Men's Clinic today at 901-443-0475 or visit memphismensclinic.com.
I'm Dr. George Flynn with Flynn Broadcasting Company. The coronavirus situation is causing a lot of cancellation of events, schools, concerts, sporting events, and all kind of social gatherings. It's called social distancing, but you do not have to be distant mentally from everyone in the community because Flynn Broadcasting is with you. We love you. We want to make sure that you are connected and protected from the coronavirus. So keep listening to this Flynn Broadcasting station. We'll keep you informed, we'll keep you in touch, and we'll keep you connected to your friends. So as soon as this situation is over, we can go back to our normal living. I'm Dr. George Flynn with Flynn Broadcasting Company saying we love our community, we love you as individuals, and we are committed to your well-being.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
We like to party.
Welcome back in as we cruise through our first hour on a day where numbers just are staggering when you look at what could have been. I think Mayor James Strickland and Manoj Jain and Elisa Haushalter for making the policies that are getting us to, maybe bring the death rate that potentially could be here from 8,100 to 68 if it all works out the way we hope. That is for sure. Obi Toppin today entered the NBA draft. No big surprise there. He was the guy that I picked to win the Wooden Award. Some people have.
He got the trophy and walked out on you, didn't he?
He did. Some people pick. It's really weird when you look at these NBA drafts, these mock drafts. Mm-hmm. I mean, they do vary a whole lot. In the NBA Draft.net, which I don't know is the best. It's one I look at because I know that site. Some people think it is not as good as some of the others.
Any site you go to, somebody's going to say it's terrible.
It's all speculation. They've got Toppin third in the draft behind Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball. I personally would be shocked if Anthony Edwards goes ahead of James Wiseman, but it could. They've got Wiseman fourth.
It needs, yeah.
And also the word now on Eric Stevenson, the young man who just started off on fire at Wichita State and then decided, I don't know what happened to him. I really don't. He and the coach.
They had a powder keg.
Yeah, they did. He has decided he's going to go to Washington, the University of Washington. He played high school ball about 15 miles away. So his transfer is done. He's in the portal. He's going to go to Washington, he says, and he'll probably be a pretty solid player there. He was an interesting cat. He's the guy I told you the story when we had finished shoot-around. We were getting ready to go. He had walked in. He was stretching right in front of the place, and I was doing a bunch of my charts right there while our shoot-around had gone on. And I just said to him, because I'd watched him, he just took apart a team. This was, right before conference play. I think the last really good non-conference game that they played, he had scored a career high like 28. He was incredible. And I looked at him, I said, man, you were on fire the other night. He looked back at me with disdain in his eyes. And he said, yeah, and I'm going to do that again tonight.
Bring it on.
Yeah. I'll never forget that, I promise you. But most of the time, guys will go, well, thank you. Or, like he acted like I had just insulted him and that, expect it tonight, buddy, because I'm going to kick your behind.
Yeah, and, tomorrow night would have been the first night of winnowing it down from Sweet 16 to Elite 8. And after the weekend, we would have had a Final Four set.
We would have, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that with our friend TJ Reeves in a little bit. This is a story that's coming from Scott Boras, the prominent agent who has a lot of baseball stars, and
I think between Scott Boras and the Players Association, the head of baseball, or the three. The three leaders of baseball, the commissioner's office, the Players Association, and Scott Boras.
Well, Scott Boras has already devised, and he said this to the LA Times,
he's been for it forever.
And it's on CBS. So he's got a schedule that he's put together for this year, which obviously is delayed because of the coronavirus. He has submitted two proposals, one for a 162-game, one for a 144-game slate, which that he's submitting to the league for their consideration because his players are wanting this sort of thing. And the most interesting dynamic in the Boras plan is that the postseason would go through December with a potential Game 6 of the World Series taking place on Christmas Day. Under his proposal, they could host in 3 California stadiums: Dodger Stadium, Angel Stadium, Petco Park. Oakland and San Francisco not in it. It would be too cold. And then 8 other dome parks: Miami, Seattle, Arizona, Milwaukee, Toronto, Houston, St. Petersburg, and Arlington. Because remember, the new Arlington baseball stadium is going to be retracted. I think it's actually... Well, it was supposed to be open in April. Now, when Drew and I were at the Cotton Bowl, And actually, when I was there for the short period of time, I saw it again when I was there for the American Athletic
It didn't
Conference.
look anywhere close.
It's no
to
way.
Being finished.
I don't know how. I don't know.
It looked pretty rough.
To do.
I don't know how
they had some hustling to do. Now, Boris has been for a neutral site World Series for a long time, and this may be his classic opening because you think of so many places. I mean, you could not sit outside in New York or St. Louis or Chicago at Wrigley Field on Christmas Day for a Game 6. But I can tell you, Dave, if it happens, and you know it as a Cubby, and I know it as a Cardinal fan, and Drew, if it was your O's, I don't care if it's 2 below. I want the games in St. Louis whenever they play them.
Well, I got to tell you, Wrigley Field on Christmas Day would not – it's a place for football. It is not a place to play baseball. I don't know. If they had to do it in Christmas, I would be for a domed – neutral site. I would. As much as I hate that, I would. I think it would be too cold to really play the game the way it's supposed to be played. Could you imagine?
Would you give the town the option? Or just say, no, we're playing it in Arizona at Chase Field?
Well, I think every home team's going to go, I want to be there, and every opposing team, if it's a dome team that is playing in the World Series and they say, we don't want to go to Chicago to play in 10-degree weather, I mean, the game's not the game. Let's play all of them.
It could be cold in Atlanta.
It could.
It could be cold in Atlanta on those dates, and the Braves really probably stand a better chance of being in the World Series than any of our 3 teams.
I think you could just play it in Miami because we know they're not going to be in it.
That's right. You know the building will be available.
Right. I would be for the neutral, but just think about how crazy this Christmas could be. Hopefully,
okay, that might be one thing that I'll second guess. When I said I wasn't going to be a big second guesser when this was over, that might be one that I do. But I think Scott Boras shows more leadership about the sport than the darn commissioner does,
I do too.
And that kills me.
Yeah, this commissioner has not risen to the level.
Leads from behind
we thought.
Constantly.
Yeah, so think about this for just 1 second because it popped in my head. We could have the World Series in a neutral up against LeBron James and the Lakers against the Grizzlies as they start their season. And
down the stretch they come in the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont.
I mean, it is crazy. And that is weird, too, because
I'll take it whenever we can get it.
Take it
whenever we can get it.
They've said the Derby's going to be in September. What about the Preakness and the Belmont? When are they running those?
Anyway, and the Preakness, because of everything at Pimlico, already very – very dire there financially.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, we'll just see.
Mm-hmm. We will. Crazy stuff. We'll talk about this craziness with our friend T.J. Reeves down in Tampa. And his Bucks got some good news today. They got Ndamukong Suh, one of the dirtiest football players on the planet, but they got him. We'll talk about that and a whole bunch more. 1 hour in the books on this Wednesday. This is Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Frontier Western Store is proud to announce their T-shirt sale is back. All regularly priced novelty T-shirts are buy one, get a second half price. Tons of new prints by Simply Southern, Girly Girl, and Puppy Love, as well as men's tees by Live Oak and Haybo are included. Frontier's women's boutique is loaded with new styles and colors in current trends of tops, tunics, and dresses. And most are just $14.99, available small to 3X. While you're there, be sure to check out Frontier's world-famous boot showroom. Shop thousands of boots year-round that are in stock, ready to try on and take home. Shop at a local store with excellent service. With their extensive selection of dress and work boots, you are certain to find your next favorite pair. Frontier receives new styles and restocks daily from all the largest boot makers: Dan Post, Durango, Rocky, Ariat, and more. Available in men's, women's, or children's. Outfit the entire family. Frontier Western Store, 5880 Goodman Road in Olive Branch, and on the web at frontierwesternstore.com. Family owned and operated since 1967.
You have to be up in 5 hours, 2 hours, 6 minutes. And when you hear, you realize that you haven't slept a wink. That's why there's ZzzQuil Pure Z's, a drug-free blend of botanicals with an optimal dose of melatonin, so you can fall asleep naturally with no next-day grogginess. It's available in both liquid and gummies, tastes great, and is non-habit forming. Pick up ZzzQuil Pure Z's from the sleep experts at Vicks ZzzQuil. ZzzQuil Pure Z's, naturally superior sleep. Available at retailers near you.
Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
And let me again thank our title sponsor. Thank the world of all the folks at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. They are the title and presenting sponsor of this hour. They've been with this program and with me in particular for several years now, and I truly appreciate all that they do. And they say the car business is still going. Don't forget that. And those Genesis cars, the best, I think, technology, the best product, the best automobile that is out there right now. When it comes to luxury cars, I don't think anybody can touch it, and I want you to find out by going to test drive the cars yourself. You get into Mississippi, you take Highway 78, it's Lamar and Memphis. When it gets into Mississippi, boom, just like that, the very first exit, you turn left. These cars have so much technology in them. They are so safe. They are so fast. They handle so well, and they last forever. That's why you get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty on every one of their new cars. I got the G90, the G80 sort of the middle, the G70. That's getting a lot of action now. There's a great ad on that one that's out there. And honestly, it is a sports car with a back seat. It's unreal. And the SUV, you can order them now. That was another of the Super Bowl ads that was outstanding. But it's there to be ordered. You want the best car on the planet? All you got to do is get the Genesis of Olive Branch. We head to Tampa. Our friend TJ Reeves standing by. He's been a busy guy all day. All he's been doing in this crazy quarantine time is reminiscing, looking at NCAA games, doing podcasts, but you kept yourself busy.
It is not the only thing that I'm doing, but it's good to be with you. Good to be with you, Stats. I know we're making the technology work every which direction. So, yes, we don't have the present-day NCAA tournament. We don't have the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, and these weekends. So we're doing the best that we can to relive positive memories. So I want to publicly say thank you to Wolo, and at the same time tease and promote. You want to hear him coming on, and we can talk a little bit, obviously, here on your show in the present and the here and now, but you want to hear all of the stories and the info as he and I reminisce about Memphis State in the 70s and the 80s and the early 90s making runs, and even the Memphis Tigers, the U of M Tigers, making the runs with Derrick Rose and CDR and those guys through the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight. I had a fabulous time talking with you. The name of the podcast, and again, this podcast is more around the March games, March Madness, the Final Four, all the games, all the recaps, all the previews, and some interviews. I've turned it now into reminiscing, like memory lane. And so Wolo came on the College Basketball Coast to Coast show and podcast, and that is going to be out tomorrow, where we're just talking about a bunch of Tiger memories in the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight, because that would have been this weekend that we would have been at all of those four different regional sites. So look forward to having that full show out tomorrow. And for right now, we're making do with what we can. And we can reminisce right now a little bit, if you want, about some of those moments that we're talking about on the podcast, because that's what we have to hang on to. Whatever direction you guys want to go today, go for it.
There's a lot we could talk about. We'll get to Ndamukong Suh a little bit. I'm not sure if that's totally official that you can talk about it, but everybody says a 1-year, $8 million deal.
You did that very well.
Yeah,
you did that very well. Thank you.
And the other aspect is a lot of players now want to come because Tom Brady is there. That's an interesting aspect.
Yes.
But back to your
bingo
original premise, my favorite Sweet 16 weekend, without question, is the one in 2008. I think Brett would agree with this. When the Tigers went to what was then Reliant, which is now NRG Stadium, where the Texans play, and when they put it to Nizel and Michigan State, they were up like 30-6. They were up 50-30 at the half. Killed them. I mean, poor Izzo. He's still looking around to figure out what the heck hit him. And then they just destroyed a Texas team after the Tigers had lost for a short period of time. A elbow took out to the eye, took out Derrick Rose. He had to go down and get his eye glued back together because he was afraid of needles and stitches, and he wouldn't get fixed up, and finally they compromised by using glue. He came out and they put away Texas when it was all Texans there, and even the Texans were just so complimentary when the University of Memphis knocked them off by almost 20. I mean, that was the most dominating weekend against really good competition that the U of M had ever put together, and there were many, many doubters going into that game for two reasons. One, the Tigers played in CUSA, and they all thought that their ranking was lofty and shouldn't have been that it was juiced up, steroidated by a bad conference. And then the other was that Memphis almost lost in Little Rock to a Mississippi State team that what was it, Ben Hansborough?
Correct.
Had one go down and come out.
Yeah, he had a three that went down and came out that had it gone in, Memphis would have lost by one. And they ended up winning that game by 3 because they fouled. Memphis hit a free throw, and the rest was history. They went to Houston. But for that reason, Memphis, I think, sort of went in almost as an underdog to Michigan State. And after that was over, people knew for real the Tigers were the thing to beat.
Well, and one of the things that we talked about, and I'll just tip it here on the podcast, is Izzo went to a very interesting strategy in the second half of that game. And I reminisce that while you were there, I'm obviously distant. I'm watching with friends of mine at a sports bar because they had several of the games on in that Sweet 16 Friday night. And the friends of mine were looking at that game, watching Derrick Rose just destroy Michigan State off the dribble. And they were saying, you're going to win the national championship. Who's stopping him? Who's stopping what the especially when the Tigers continued to make free throws all the way up until the final 2 minutes of the title game, continued to make free throws. And what Izzo did in that second half, they were so far behind, he began to get bodies off the bench that had fouls to give, reserves, and send them in to grab CDR, to grab Derrick Rose, to grab Joey Dorsey and foul them. He was giving up fouls and putting Memphis in the 1-and-1 and even the double bonus with 8 minutes in the game, 7 minutes in the game, saying, hey, the only way we're going to get back in here down 20-25 is if we start getting them to have empty possessions, and the best strategy we're going to do, they literally did that at least 6 times. They may have done it 8 or more times if we go back and look at the tape, where as soon as somebody got the ball in the inbounds, we're grabbing them. We're grabbing them and go put them at the line to take our chances, and Memphis kept making all the free throws. Stats and Wolo.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did. And Dave, you're right. Coming out of North Little Rock, the Tigers went from, by the perception of many, as invincible to very, very vulnerable with that Hansbrough miss, and it really did. It went down deep in the well and then rattled back out in North Little Rock. And then after those two bludgeonings deep in the heart of Texas to return back down there, I think the Tigers were kind of either the favorite or the second biggest favorite. I think they were favored over UCLA for sure, and they put it on them. TJ, I have said through the years, and I think Dave has disagreed with me through the years every time I say it, I think the most disappointing loss in all of sports, the sports that we keep up with and talk about, is the loss not to go to the Final Four, the loss in the Elite Eight. Because most basketball junkies like us, you'll remember the 4 teams in the Final Four, even if you got hammered on that Saturday afternoon. Very few people remember the Elite Eight. I think it's the most disappointing loss in all of sport. You don't get that week of publicity, that week of national press. You don't get that big Friday practice when you have 45,000 at that practice, and then that rollout on Saturday, whether you're the first game or the second game, you're on the stage. If you lose in that Elite Eight, you're not.
Well, and the one thing I thought of when you said that is losing the national championship game is the other crushing one. When you've gotten all the way to the final game, I mean, example, last year in Minnesota, I had the privilege of being there doing stuff again with TuneIn and this college basketball Coast to Coast show. There's the plug again. That Texas Tech had such a great run in that postseason and beat Gonzaga, the 1 seed in Anaheim, to get to the Final Four, and then beat Izzo and Michigan State, speaking of Izzo and speaking of them being favored, to get to the title game. They had a ball in the air from Jarrett Culver to win at the end of regulation and beat Virginia and be the national champs, and it clanged off the rim. It was no good. It wasn't a great shot. It wasn't an open look. They go to overtime, and Virginia hits the key shot or two, and they win. And you could just see Chris Beard had tears in his eyes, the players with tears. It was crushing in that moment. But I understand the point you're making. When you lose the previous weekend in the Elite Eight, you're quicker forgotten in that instance because you didn't make the Final Four. And it's tough for 4 losing teams every weekend to go through that. I still hearken back to last year where Purdue had won in the final seconds against Tennessee, against Rick Barnes in Tennessee on a last-second shot, and it looked like they had knocked off Virginia as well until Virginia amazingly got the loose ball at midcourt and fired it to Diakite, the big man, who in one motion put it in with a tenth of a second left to force overtime, or else Virginia doesn't even make the Final Four, and now Purdue goes home in that moment, and they're almost forgotten because they didn't get to the big stage. So I understand the point you're making.
Brett, I don't totally disagree, although I will say this. In my own experience, the most crushing loss was up 9 with 2:12 to go over Kansas in 2008. I can't watch that game. I told that to TJ when he's doing his Final Four stuff. Don't call me because I am not talking about that game.
But I kept emphasizing this is not a Final Four show that I'm doing with you. We're doing Sweet 16 and Elite 8, and he felt better about it. Yes,
but you got there.
Right, and I'm going to tell you how I know how you feel so frustrated when you lose the Elite Eight, because the promised land is the Final Four, and we count national titles, but we also count Final Fours. When you look
we do.
You look in game notes,
and we're not everybody gets the trophy guys either.
Right,
you go to the Final Four. George Mason didn't win it, but Larinaga got him there in 2006.
But people in game notes refer to NCAA appearances and Final Fours. They do. And I can remember the frustration in Oakland in 2006 because Memphis hadn't been to a Final Four since 1985. And that UCLA Memphis game, that killed us. I remember feeling like it was so close. And then the famous Joey Dorsey giving grief to Oden and saying Oden who, and then Oden put 17 and 9 on him, and Conley had a good game against the Tigers. He had 19 points in the game, and the Tigers never got, except for Jeremy Hunt was the best player in that game against Ohio State in San Antonio when the Tigers fell to Ohio State 92-76. I mean, nothing worked, and there it was again, so close yet so far in 2007. So, that's a year after the heartbreak in Oakland. You're so close, you're thinking we're never going to get to the Final Four. And Calipari's thinking the same way. And, of course, I do remember him saying to Doug Woolard after the championship game, he goes, "Doug, do you think we're ever going to get here again?" And Doug goes, "Oh, yeah, you're definitely going to make it. Little did we know you'd be making it with Doug on his staff at Kentucky." But that's the way that worked.
Well,
Chris Woolard,
correct. Chris Woolard at Kentucky, and Doug was the former athletic director here at USF and at St. Louis. Hey, just real quick, one more little tidbit, and I mentioned this to you on the show, on the podcast, and I hope they keep this guy's YouTube page up. If Tiger fans, to Brett's point, want to search for the Elite Eight Memphis State, Oklahoma 1985 regional final, the full game broadcast is on YouTube.
I remember
it well. Search Memphis State, Oklahoma 1985 NCAA tournament. It will come up. The full game is there. This guy has taped full-length games from CBS for the NFL playoffs, college basketball, different stuff. He's got the full game there, and it's the late Frank Gleber, the former Cowboys announcer, and James Brown, Stats Norsworthy, is the analyst. because he was a
Wow.
former player at Harvard.
Yeah, at Harvard.
So James Brown, right. James Brown later became a host with Jim Nantz in the studio, later started doing play-by-play for CBS, and we now know him mainly as the host of the NFL Today on CBS. But he's the analyst of that game, and you talk about denial of the Final Four. Oklahoma's the top seed. They've got the crowd in Dallas at Reunion Arena, and Memphis State finds a way to come back with Dana Kirk, Keith Lee, Andre Turner, William Bedford, and win the game and deny Wayman Tisdale going to the Final Four in Lexington. So, again, that full game is there. There's a free plug. It's great to when we don't have this to go to right now, it's great to go back and reminisce on games like that, and it's wild to watch Dana Kirk, Billy Tubbs square off and the CBS broadcast of that game.
Keith Lee had 23
and the four
in that
teams.
Game.
Yeah, the four teams in Dallas. Oklahoma beat Mailman and Louisiana Tech on Thursday night, and then Andre Turner had the buzzer beater to beat Boston College to get to the Elite Eight, and then Tigers and OU. But Mailman and that Louisiana Tech team was really strong. It was some hosses at Reunion Arena on Thursday night, and then on Saturday afternoon. You talk about Wayman Tisdale. He was part of the '84 gold medal winning team, and he and Keith Lee had gone pretty good in Bloomington at Olympic tryouts against each other the year before, and then the Tigers beat them at Reunion, and that was a fun Saturday afternoon.
I remember the Mid-South Coliseum as a regular season game. It was the year before, I think, that they played, and Derek Phillips was on the team there. Keith had a good game, but Derek Phillips shut down Tisdale, absolutely shut him down, and that was a big reason for that win. And then in that game against Oklahoma in Dallas, you mentioned Frank Gleber, and I've got a connection to Frank Gleber because it was not long after after that game, Frank Gleber passed away, and I went and replaced Frank Gleber with KRLD radio in Dallas, and Frank had just really blossomed from being a local guy at KRLD and doing the Cowboys games to becoming the network guy. He first started off as a weekend kind of a guy for the network, and then sort of was gradually being groomed to become a major player. And he passed away at a very early age of a heart attack.
And to your point, that may have been the last game that he did on a network stage. I don't know that he did anything after that. He didn't do the Final Four because that was Brent Musburger and Billy Packer doing the Final Four. But again, it's great to go back and relive this stuff. That 2-3 zone that Dana Kirk was playing worked. It was magic at the end of that game against Tisdale and company, and so it's neat to go back and relive that Memphis State team making the Final Four in Lexington. So yeah, we have the memories, and I'm fond too, and we're talking about on the podcast of the '92 run because that was my senior year when Penny Hardaway, David Vaughn, Billy Smith, Tony Madlock got all the way to the Elite Eight game and ran into Cincinnati again. But it's fun to go back and relive the Arkansas win in the second round and then the Georgia Tech win on the overtime game in the Sweet 16. Just love to reminisce about these things. So thanks for the memory lane on that.
Yeah, all those free throws in that of Georgia Tech overtime. I think those were all the points, 6 for 6, the U of M that won that game. And then the Cincinnati game, which we don't have to bring up because that was their fourth win that year, and by a bigger margin each time they played. Nobody could stop Nick Van Exel. He had the Tigers' number. All right, before we run out of time, I got to ask you a little bit about, I guess, Tom Brady mania. I understand they sold a bunch of jerseys. Although, is he going to wear 12 there? I think he is. But, he was a 10 when he was in college, and he didn't really want 12 when he first got to New England, but maybe he wants to keep it now. And then all these guys, like Ndamukong Suh apparently is signed. I don't know if you can comment on that, but based on what you said, I don't think you can. But give me the sense about the interest in the Bucs from the fans to other players who might come on board, free agents, now that Brady is there. What has this done for the Bucs and the whole culture?
Well, you're absolutely right. And he met with the media yesterday, and it just tells you what a time that we're in right now, that we're so starved for news, for no games, no results, no previews, no recaps. that ESPN SportsCenter was running for all 30 minutes the full phone conference call, because that's what it was, just like the old school, because everybody's in different locations. So they ran it all in its entirety while we were sitting and listening as the media and the Buccaneers put it on their website and on their mobile app streaming, where you could hear the conference call. And I thought it was interesting. I mean, what do you expected him to say he's eager to come to Tampa Bay. And as the story goes, from Brady's standpoint, he's been in touch with a bunch of his teammates already, his new teammates by phone. He wanted their phone numbers. He's talking to them. He's FaceTiming with some of them to get ready to go, and anxious to be out there on the practice field. And you're right, there probably will be a couple of other free agents that want to come here if they can be fit under the salary cap. Sue is an interesting name. I believe I've said this so many different times in so many different interviews. You wonder just in general, when players have made a ton of money but don't have a ring and they have a chance to be around it, how much of an incentive, even if you take a little less money, how much of an incentive is that to go and win? And there may be a couple of guys that are willing to do that, to come be around the Buccaneers and make a run at trying to win a championship if they can do it. This is clearly a short-term thing. The Buccaneers are going to reveal new uniforms coming in April. They keep teasing this. It's going to be, I haven't seen them, so I don't know, but it's going to be similar to the red and pewter color scheme. It's just a scheme. It's just going to be new. And so you better believe the 12 jerseys or the 10 jerseys, whatever it's going to be for Tom Brady, are going to be through the roof, but so too with some of the other guys. So it is an exciting time right now in the NFL offseason, and now we await, when can everything start back up? When is it safe to begin to resume everything? And that may be a few weeks from now. It may be a couple of months from now. We just all got to hold it together until we get the games back.
Don't you really believe it's a couple of a month or two before? I don't think
it's got to be at least May 1st.
The OTAs,
and it may be June 1st.
I would think June 1st at the earliest for that kind of thing. Remember, at this point, there's no more gatherings than 10 people. For a pro football team, you're going to exceed 50 or 60, so you have to get to that level first. And I don't think you're going to get OTAs or anything like that. I think if all goes well, and we're fortunate, by the time you would report, when are the Bucs supposed to report to their first fall camp, real camp?
The first training camp practices would be the last week in July. They would theoretically be allowed to have a mini camp sometime in June. That's what everybody would shoot for, and it's going to be the same for everybody. And I've joked about this. I mean, obviously, if Tom Brady is now down here in the area and he wants to go throw to Mike Evans somewhere in a park, away from the media and away from everybody, I don't think anybody's going to stop that if that's the case, or go throw to Godwin or somebody else,
right?
To be able to do this. And it may take a few weeks before that stuff starts happening, to start working with the receivers. And it's legendary, his off-season program and how he has stayed in the shape that he stayed in as a 42, soon to be a 43-year-old, and working with others and working out with others to stay on the same page. So you're right. You're missing that right now, and hopefully he can play catch-up later on. And, I mean, I can tell you from neighbors that are in and around my subdivision, when they see me, when we venture out to go take a walk, go walk the dog, et cetera, they're excited. The mailman knows, because he sees TJ Reeves on all the mail. He was asking me about Tom Brady. The lawn guy was here earlier today talking about Tom Brady. So the buzz is definitely everywhere.
That's great.
And there's a lot of interest. Even though they raised the prices, there's interest.
Well, keep in mind, for a lot of people, and there are a lot of season ticket holders, there are a bunch, they did not increase if you were already a season ticket holder.
Oh, they
but
did?
Now,
Okay.
they've got the incentive out there. So if you renewed, you kept it the same price. And now let's see what looks like. Let's see what it looks like here coming up for this season, because we haven't seen the schedule yet. We haven't had the draft yet to know who else you can get. There's a lot of different things that are upcoming. We just got to hang in there till we can get to it.
But by the way, Drew Barrett is watching the Memphis State Oklahoma game.
I'm quite glued.
So you're saying, wait a minute, you're saying I've done a bad thing because now he's going to be distracted for the remainder of the show.
I kind of watched him, and it did bring back good memories to watch Kirk prowling on the sideline there. But also, what most impressed me about that, and I'm watching through glass here, so I'm away from him. But the quality, Drew, looks like it's pretty good.
It actually is pretty good for TV that aired 35 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, and he would have recorded it on VHS most likely. Maybe he had a way to record it on a higher quality, but then he's got to adapted. And again, I'm trying to reveal as little as possible because I don't want his stuff taken down, but it's there. It's there to go and watch. And it's great to turn up the sound and listen to Frank Gleber and James Brown call that game, because James Brown is the analyst, and he is giving good insight as to why the Memphis State big men are having so much success throughout the game as things are unfolding. So it's really neat to go back and relive this stuff.
Last thing for you, as we get set to bring in Rick Horrow here in a minute, but Jameis Winston now gone in favor of Tom Brady, and nobody is thinking that's a huge loss. But where does Jameis Winston end up? 28-42. That's his career as a starter. Now he's, how old is he? He's been around a while. 25. So he's not, seasoned but not old. So that's a good combination. But the pickoff rate is terrible. And we know he's mobile. We know he's got an arm. We know he's going to get another chance. Where do you think he would best fit?
He's going to have to go somewhere as a backup, more than likely, as like a 1A or a B, and have the opportunity to maybe compete. Could he go to the L.A. Chargers? Is that where Cam Newton's going to go? They don't have a settled quarterback situation there. Might he go 3 hours to the north from Tampa to Jacksonville, where they have the second-year quarterback Gardner Minshew, and they traded away Nick Foles? It's probably going to have to be as a backup that's waiting for the opportunity, not unlike Ryan Tannehill in Nashville. We're unhappy with the starter. The starter gets hurt. You're ready to go. You're ready to go whenever we need you. That's probably going to have to be his situation here in the short term. And I will say publicly here, where I've said it numerous other times, numerous other places, I wish him well. He was good to me even when the games were bad and the locker room interview could have been bad. He could have been a jerk. I wish him well. Let's see what happens in a new setting for him. And the Bucs, and Bruce Arians has said this, we wish him well somewhere else. This is just the reality of the business and what we've chosen to do. We couldn't pass up the chance at a Hall of Famer, and now here you go with Tom Brady, and we'll see where Jameis ends up.
There you go. Thank you much. As always, we appreciate it. Stay healthy. Give my best to your wife and the kids, and we'll talk to you next week.
Same here. Good to be with Wolo and Stats. And again, College Basketball Coast to Coast is the name of the podcast. Wherever you find podcasts, on iTunes, on Spotify, on the Spreaker, wherever, Wolo's on it, talking Tigers a bunch with me for like half an hour, reminiscing about the Sweet 16s and Elite 8s in years gone by. Great stuff. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. TJ Reeves down in Tampa, brought to you in part by the Commissary. Germantown Commissary, Collierville Commissary, same people. Same people. Walker Taylor. And he wants everybody to know he's still in business. Walk up, drive through, either way. If you're going to go to Germantown, in the heart of the old Germantown district, that quaint area, park, go in. You might want to call in advance to make sure you order your ribs or your icebox lemon pie or your pulled shoulder or your pulled chicken, whatever you want. They have everything to go. Same thing in Collierville. It's actually a little easier there, Poplar and Houston Levy Road, because you can go right through the drive-through. That makes it simple. Yes, Germantown Commissary, Collierville Commissary, they are still cooking. And they are still making that great food for you to get. It's just easy. Now you have to either go curbside or you have to go drive-through. But the commissary is still open for business. Back in a minute. This is Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
The word is out about R&R on Sports, where you've heard interviews from Ken Griffith Jr., Dr. J, Hank Aaron, and many, many more. Right here, R&R on Sports, Saturday mornings, 9 a.m., Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7. Don't miss it.
Bartlett Small Engine has been serving quality power equipment since 1970. They have a full line of power equipment, parts, and services for most makes and models. Bartlett Small Engines has the best brands in the power tool industry: Honda mowers, trimmers, and generators, Steel blowers, trimmers, and chainsaws, Echo trimmers, blowers, and chainsaws, plus quality products from Red Mat and Shindawa. And they're all American made. Bartlett Small Engine is your can-do store. 6780 Summer Avenue. Call 901-386-9779.
You have to be up in 5 hours, 2 hours, 6 minutes. And when you hear, you realize that you haven't slept a wink. That's why there's ZzzQuil Pure Z's, a drug-free blend of botanicals with an optimal dose of melatonin, so you can fall asleep naturally with no next-day grogginess. It's available in both liquid and gummies, tastes great, and is non-habit forming. Pick up ZzzQuil Pure Z's from the sleep experts at Vicks ZzzQuil. ZzzQuil Pure Z's, naturally superior sleep. Available at retailers near you.
Step up your wings game at East Coast Wings and Grill. With 60 wing flavors and 7 heat indexes, do you have what it takes to turn the heat on your wings up to insanity? East Coast Wings and Grill is family friendly with a large variety menu to satisfy the whole bunch. Sign up today for their loyalty program and taste the rewards. For every $1 you spend, you collect a point. Earn 100 points and receive a $5 reward. Next to Lowe's off Highway 64 in Bartlett, come try America's best wings at East Coast Wings and Grill. Make your day smoking with the Big Green Egg. You can smoke, bake, roast, sear, and grill, all with a lifetime warranty. Ceramic never rusts, and the easy, accurate temperature control gives you the greatest range of any grill. Make your next grill your last with the Big Green Egg. Available at these nearby locations: Hamilton Fireplace Shop, 4462 Summer Avenue; Germantown Hardware Company, 2083 South Germantown Road; Garden Spas and Pool, 9393 Poplar Avenue; and East Memphis Ace Hardware, 5143 Quince Road.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome back in as we cruise through our second hour, halfway through this show on a Wednesday where we sort of sorting through everything. There's no major news or major closures, everything going sort of as it did at the start of the show. We do know we have 170 coronavirus cases in Shelby County. The numbers that I gave you in the beginning of the day, where if they had not made moves, it could have been over 400,000 people in the metro area to get this disease, 40,500 that could have been really sick, and we could have had as many as 8,100 deaths. Hopefully, we'll get the best case scenario where 13,000 get the disease, 338 end up in the ICU, and only 68 pass away because we've taken the measures that Mayor Jim Strickland, Mayor Lee Harris have all taken.
Yeah, some NHL news due to COVID-19. The NHL has officially announced the postponement of the scouting combine June 1 through 6, the NHL awards June 18th, and the NHL draft scheduled for June 26th through 27th. So they're pushing things back, and now June dates starting to go.
Yeah. Since you mentioned the NHL, it was interesting. I was reading the story today. Their medical expert, Dr. William Mewisse, I think is how you pronounce that name, Meuwisse. He basically says, let's slow down on returning to play, even in empty arenas. He first said the first step is bringing people together, and I get that. Let's face it. At this point,
sure,
they don't want anybody more than 10 people gathering, and I really think in this safer at home, or as we shelter in place. I mean, it's like 2 people, right? That's what they say. Don't really have any kind of gathering.
Safe, not sorry.
Yeah,
and we're getting ready to get to Rick Harrow, and he knows Gary Bettman very well. We'll bring him in and ask him about it. But also this, I want people to go and find the story. It'd be easy to find out there of the common denominator that they're going to the visitors' locker room at Staples Center that may have been where a lot of the positive NHL cases are.
Wow.
And some of the NBA cases are coming from Staples Centers. And if you'll remember, right in that time was the big ceremony for Kobe Bryant on February 25th. And that night, the Grizzlies played there, and they were in that dressing room.
Fortunately, we have not had any report of any Grizzly coming up with the coronavirus. But what gets confusing there is they say, for instance, on cardboard, the disease can live for 24 hours. On plastic, I think it's 20 minutes or something of that nature. For it to be centered in the visiting locker room, that the germs lasted for a whole long time. Maybe they found something they could feed off of. I don't know. That does seem sort of strange. We'll get straightened out on a lot of things.
I know this. I don't want to see COVID-20 ever.
Me neither. I don't want to see 19. I don't want to see. In the meantime, Rick Horrow does join us, our professor of sports business at Harvard, a member of the family of stations for NBC, kind enough to give us some of his time. All right, so I've seen where just the cancellation, that doesn't mean revenues coming in, but just because Tokyo has to cancel from 20 to 21, that alone, just the cancellation, is $25 million to the Japanese and Tokyo governments. Is that accurate or is that short? Rick, can you get a sense of what that means?
Yeah, a study that was done by Nikko Securities, which is one of their big financial institutions, and reported by Kyoto News, said that the calling off the event would cut the GDP by $75 billion. Postponing the event by a year will reduce significant revenues, but not by that. Japanese corporate revenue for 2020 would fall 24% compared to last year. That's because they don't get the benefits of activation and the spending for this year, but they would get it next year that they wouldn't get otherwise. So it's going to be a loss. It's not going to be as much of a loss as cancellation, quite clearly, but it's going to be some kind of a loss. Right decision. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure because last week at the same time, we were talking about how important it was that they make sure their timetable doesn't lapse, but they thought they had 2 or 3 weeks. But everybody, was pounding on him, saying you got to get this done, not only for the games themselves, but all of the qualification events and all of the travel and all the logistics, and they did relent.
Well, they had to. When you've got Canada, you've got Australia, you've got Germany, and then when the USA swim and track teams said it, what choice did the IOC have?
Well, and frankly, they probably didn't have any choice anyway. My comment after knowing Thomas Bach, the president, spending time with him, and actually knowing how they make decisions, I suspect he was a little put off. He didn't say it, but that he had these flow charts and mathematical stuff going on in Geneva and headquarters, and because he's very precise. That's the way they do business, and was probably going to reach the same decision anyway, maybe a week or two later, but now it looks like a political response to an ultimatum.
Well, what do you think this cost NBC?
Rick, for me, I'm sorry.
Oh, wow, here's a power play. Which one do I answer?
Well, we're being very smart here, really. I mean that sincerely, and Brett is at home.
Oh, yeah, of course he is.
Really. So
you sound like you're in the same place.
Our communications aren't quite as sharp as it normally is.
No, but you guys have a sixth sense, man. You've been working together for, 90 years?
Seems that way.
Yeah, right. All right, so which one? So what do you want me to answer?
Just real quick, what do you think this cost NBC?
Oh, well, the NBC ads were going to be over $1 billion, but they paid significant rights fees. So, again, it's not lost cost and expense and revenue. It's deferred. And also, it's the stuff they won't have next year because they would have had the 2021 championships of all of these events. And the stuff they won't have this year because they can't really have comparable programming for the Olympics because they'll have filler, but there's going to be no Olympic programming to show. So, again, I'm guessing they lose 30% of that. That's really an uneducated guess, but that's the theory behind it.
Rick, we had the news just a little bit ago about the NHL with some postponements for June, mostly administrative stuff, free agency, the draft, things like that. For the NFL, they're getting a little pushback for proceeding on. I think they should. They're not playing games, and it's a lot of money in free agency at a time a lot of people are hurting. But, during World War II, FDR ordered baseball. You don't stop. You keep playing. I think we need something to proceed. I'm glad the NFL is plodding on.
Well, let's remember one of the biggest decisions that was debated was the John F. Kennedy assassination decision on November 24, 1963. Pete Rozelle talked about not playing the games and the emotional debate every time there was a subsequent national tragedy. regards his decision there. So there's no right answer. But the idea of being safe now as opposed to just being emotionally better for having games, that's a dimension that you don't have in these other tragedies. So the bottom line is you got to make sure the country feels like it's the right time to come together and it's safe to come together.
What do you think the NFL draft is going to look like? We know there's not going to be a public gathering on the Vegas Strip like we thought there was originally going to be. So what will it look like April the 23rd through the 25th? Just the commissioner in Las Vegas and maybe a couple of officials, and the rest will be at their camps or at homes, or offices? How will the NFL draft look?
It'll look like it, partially was in 78. Chris Berman has his wide glasses. He has his plaid jacket. And it feels the same. In all seriousness, it'll be a remote extravaganza. There will be no crowds, and it'll cut to a variety of different locations like a normal news event. And NFL has been very lucky in the sense that this coronavirus has been kind to its business cycle. All of these free agent signings, you don't have to have crowds with them, but it really does bring the NFL into the limelight. And if the safe to resume happens before July, camps open, you don't miss a beat. So, as if the NFL needed it, they're already the juggernaut already, but they got lucky with the schedule relative to other sports. By the way, I'm hearing from people that we're fairly close to opening up the stadiums again and public gatherings in China, which means over the next 2 weeks, we may have all Chinese soccer and volleyball all the time on ESPN live. Are we ready?
Yeah, I think everybody's
we're ready. Of course,
for
we're ready.
Anything for sport.
Yeah, we're ready.
No question. There was an interesting story regarding baseball. Today, Scott Boras saying, with the way this thing's backing up, he gave out two different proposals. One, 144 game, 162 game proposal. One of them has playing in domes on Christmas Day, Game 6 of the World Series. Do you think baseball is really contemplating changing the way the parameters of the season will be?
Yeah, I think everybody's ready to discuss one-time only special circumstances. And frankly, I don't see any problem with any of that. I think America needs to have as much regularity as they can. And assuming there are logistical ways to do this, it's not as much revenue as it would have been otherwise, but it minimizes a completely lost season. So I'm all for that.
Today, Bob Herrig at ESPN.com, the accomplished golf writer, he wrote about the majors schedule could look like this year. It could be the first major of the year, could be the Open Championship, the British Open played on its regular date. The second one, with the cancellation of the Olympics, the PGA could slide into the Olympic spot. The third one would be the U.S. Open about 2 weeks after the Olympics. And the third one could be the U.S. Open in September. And then the last one of the year could be the Masters in October. The Masters going last and the British Open going first. What a year, Rick.
Well, let me tell you, all of this discussion is really, really good for sports because it gets us off of the fact that we don't have any sports and we watch esports and then the fifth rerun of the Beverly Hills Hillbillies episode where Jed discovers oil and heads west. Oh, wait, that's everyone. Listen, we're so starved for this that any discussion about business alternatives are good discussions.
I got to ask you about a note you gave us last week. I was just looking over stuff, and this blew me away because I really don't know these numbers and total population. But you wrote more than 857 million people tuned in to last year's Rugby World Cup in Japan, setting a record for the largest ever broadcast viewership for a rugby union tournament. So 857 million people watch this event. That's staggering.
That's a big number.
Own right. The other is how many people across the world then watch the Super Bowl?
Not as many.
Right.
And we think we are the end of the world when it comes to sports. But, rugby in its smaller forms, now the Rugby Sevens and the Olympics, it's a big deal everywhere. It was new to Japan a while ago, but now it's not. And I was at the HSBC World Championship of the Rugby Sevens doing a presentation in L.A. before the lockdown started, and it was huge and bigger than you possibly could imagine, and it's only getting bigger.
So that makes me wonder.
All right, I got one for you, Rick. Whenever we get together, dinner's on me for you being so good to us and joining us. But we can have the biggest dinner ever. And Dave knows I like to make lunch bets and dinner bets. If you can tell me the oil company that hit oil for Uncle Jed, any kind of dinner you want, any restaurant in the country, wherever we get together.
Wow.
Come on, Rick. I'm pulling for you.
New burn oil. No. Hollywood oil.
No,
go ahead.
No, Mr. Brewster in the OK Oil Company from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oil company.
Oh, Lord.
Well, you know what? I can't. You are a Beverly Hills, obviously. You're a Beverly Hillbillies trivia guy, and I just can't do it. And only a couple of trips to the cement pond and Ellie Mae and Jethro. We could spend a whole segment. If you really want to lose your listeners, we could spend a whole segment doing it.
Rick, when you have an accent like I have, you watched a lot of the Beverly Hillbillies.
I hear you, and twice, and thrice. I hear you.
You got it.
I got to go back to the 857 million people that watched rugby. Is the biggest like an Olympic Olympic opening ceremonies or Olympic closing ceremonies? Are those the most watched sporting events? What's the number?
Yeah, and let's remember, these are people who watch it over a 1 week championship period, not at the same time. So it's a little bit of a different story versus a Super Bowl where it's 1 3-hour thing, been there, done that. But the opening and closings obviously are huge. And then right up there, I don't have the number now, but I will, is the finals of the World Cup, which is right there as well.
Sure. Makes sense. As always, Rick, we appreciate all the time you were generous to give us. We always learn something every week, like this rugby thing blew me away. And we just hope you stay healthy. I imagine you're not traveling nearly as much as you normally do. Just stay healthy, and we will talk to you next week.
I'm taking my dog out to see if we can find some oil and move west.
There you go. Very
all right,
good.
Man. Later.
Thank you, Rick.
That is Rick Horrow from the NBC family of stations and also a sports business professor at Harvard. We'll take a time out. When we come back, Brett's got a story for us, got a little bit of tidbits coming your way. This is Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Take Sports 56 with you on your phone or tablet. Download our official Sports 56 app today.
Surfacescapes concrete floors can get your pool deck looking new and beautiful this spring and up to 20 degrees cooler on your feet. Call 901-888-5000 or go to surfacescapes.com. That's surfacescapes.com for more information on garage floors, restaurant, office, retail, and industrial floors. Don't forget to go to sports56whbq.com. Sign up for Sports 56 podcasts and interviews in your inbox. It's the best way to stay up to date on what's going on in sports. Get the best interviews from Sports 56 delivered straight to your inbox, brought to you by Surfacescapes Concrete Floors. They'll get your pool deck looking new and beautiful this spring, up to 20 degrees cooler on your feet. Call 901-888-5000 or go to surfacescapes.com.
Stop waiting and start off-road living in a Can-Am today. The Spring Fever event is now on at Olive Branch Motorsports. Take on every task, trail, and terrain in a Can-Am off-road vehicle that will easily handle anything that comes your way. And for a limited time, get up to $2,500 off on select 2019 models, making it easier than ever to go out and play. Visit Olive Branch Motorsports now at 5656 Goodman Road or online at obmotorcycleatv.com.
Get to Holly Chevrolet in Marion to take advantage of great deals during Holly's 2020 kickoff sale. Right now, get 0% financing for 72 months on the all-new 2020 Chevy Silverado 1500 Crew Cab plus $500 cash allowance. Or save up to $4,500 off MSRP plus an additional $1,000 conquest on a new 2020 Chevy Equinox. Stop by today and check out Holly's large selection of new and pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs ready for you to enjoy. And at Holly Chevrolet, it's a no-pressure, no-hassle environment. As a matter of fact, there's no badgers and never pay a dock fee. Find new roads at Exit 14 off I-55 in Marion, just 15 minutes from downtown Memphis. HollyChevrolet.com.
2020 Chevy Silverado 1500, stock number M4007. 2020 Chevy Equinox, stock number M4198. 0% financing on approved credit. All discounts, rebates, and incentives are included and applied. Must qualify and finance with GM Financial and own or lease a 2006 or newer GM product. Prices do not include taxes, tags, and idle registration. Take delivery by 3/31/20. See dealer for details.
At Indeed, we understand that when it comes to hiring, it's important to have a large talent pool to choose from. But sometimes too many good options can be overwhelming. That's why Indeed doesn't just give you access to a large pool of job seekers. We also offer screener tools that let you instantly narrow down your search. Hone in on hiring with Indeed. Experience Indeed for yourself today and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting at Indeed.com/promo. Terms and conditions apply.
Tiger Hoops fans have something extra to look forward to this coming March. Not only is it tournament time, but it's the opening of the Tiger Hoops exhibit at the Pink Palace Museum.
After Finch's two-pointer, Ronnie Robinson sank the shot that once again brought the two teams into a tie.
Come to the Pink Palace Museum this March and experience 100-plus years of Tiger men's and women's basketball, from their beginnings as the West Tennessee State Normal School to the present.
The Tigers are very much alive.
Don't miss the Tiger Hoops exhibit at the Pink Palace Museum, opening March 7th.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome back in. This final portion of hour number 2 brought to you by Conway Services, Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, Electric, and Free Brewery. And as I've been telling you now, they've extended February. Normally, that's just in the month of February. Now we go through March. John's very generous. Lahant in the Spark business. He gives away an 80% Carrier gas furnace free if you buy a standard Carrier air conditioning system. But we call it Free Brewery because there's a lot more freebies, like the April air cleaner free, a 10-year parts warranty also free, a free Nest thermostat, the latest and the best when it comes to technology now, and you're going to get 12 months interest-free. That's why it's Free Brewery, and John's extended it into March. All you got to do is make the call, 384-3511. Get new technology. Be cool this summer. You'll be warm next winter, thanks to Free Brewery and Conway Services.
Dave, John Clay, the venerable Lexington Herald leader that covers Kentucky athletics, and namely the biggest thing, Kentucky basketball, he tweeted a couple of days ago this tweet. He said, I have to admit, since the cable news shows cut out in-studio interviews in favor of remote interviews, it's fun to see what people have in their homes. Kyle Tucker, that covers Kentucky basketball for The Athletic, quote tweeted and wrote this information. The best discovery I made last year about this, ESPN asks its people what kind of music, books, pop culture things they like, and then they send them a giant screen that looks exactly like a perfectly organized home office behind them on TV. They're all truly excellent fakes.
No. I can't. Are you serious?
Yes.
I can understand
I'm not saying
that, because
that
how many
all the-
people have that many great bookshelves? I mean, it
And
seems like
I'm
everybody
not
has
saying
the
that
perfect
all the
office.
CNN people are like that. It's perfect, Drew. I told my brother, I said, I must be the brokest human in the country. Everybody's houses just look perfect. Don't think Greg Gaston tweeted, he said, hey, how about some pots and pans behind you or some unmade beds?
Well,
I sent that to Greg.
I got to give the Today Show. I've been watching more of the Today Show than I've ever watched before because this is what my wife wants to watch in the morning, and we all have to appease our partners, especially when we're with them. Oh, except for these 3 hours, buddy, I am with my wife. And Al Roker does it like right in front of the kitchen. He's done it in his backyard.
Now, I'm not saying NBC. This person said ESPN does it. I'm not saying everybody's doing it.
No. I got that. Well, you know what? And as I think about it, you are correct. Although if I were to do that in my office, I've got a fantastic bookcase that I could use in the shot behind me.
Yeah, and I joined a deal today on Zoom, and I had my bookcases behind me, but But at ESPN, you'll see a lot of their people like Adam Schefter and Kirk Herbstreit. And,
right.
And he didn't say it was everyone, but a lot of them, it's fake. It's tomfoolery.
Interesting. That's stunning. I would never in a million years have guessed that. Yeah, I got to ask you.
I mean, now I want them to turn around and pull a book off the shelf to see which ones are and aren't.
When you did Zoom, was this for like a TV station that you were doing that, or was it just the audio Zoom? Because I've used the audio Zoom several times over the last few months. That's a new thing. But I did it.
I used the app off my phone and used my phone.
Okay, and was it video or audio?
It was both.
It was both.
And I was receiving video and audio from the people I was doing it with.
Okay, so I did the video audio last time. I've just used the audio several times, but I've never used the video with the audio. And I did it first. We did it with a laptop last night, which was sort of boomeranged on us because we didn't know what the heck we were doing. Then we went to my iPhone, which did work, but I didn't understand how you could get more people on, like with the laptop. There's a thing called Gallery you could go to. Anyway, we're all learning new things, and Zoom is the latest,
aren't we?
And I, heck, more and more people nowadays will use FaceTime instead of just the voice on the phone, right? Like families in particular will do that to keep up with their kids or grandkids or whatever it may be. And I
had never used FaceTime until the last 3 weeks with my nephew's baby.
There you go.
I always had it, but I never did it until the last 3 weeks.
I've used it on a couple of occasions, but not regularly. I don't really care about seeing everybody. I want to hear from them. But
me too.
It reminded me when I was a kid. I went to the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. And they had the prototype of what a television phone would look like. That's what they called it back then. It was a phone, and somehow it had a TV picture with it. And you were going from one end of the museum to the other. So one guy could get on one end and one on the other to sort of see what the future was going to look like. And now we can do this with, and we did last night, my cousin in California, Northern California, in wine country, in Santa Rosa, California, had her 35th anniversary. Literally people from all over the country and frankly, all over the world, all Zoom, got together with Zoom. My cousin's son and daughter-in-law set it up together. They're very high-tech because, it's controlled by one person. I guess they pay for the Zoom time. I don't know. But we had like 40 different people from all over the country and the world toasting their 35th anniversary via a Zoom. It's amazing.
Nice.
Amazing.
It is.
Beautiful stuff. All right. 2 hours in the books. When we come back, looking forward to chatting with Damon Stoudemire, coach of Pacific, former Tiger coach and the winner of the Ben Jobe Award for the top minority coach in America. He was a winner for this year. They had a great year. 23-10, I believe, was their record. We'll talk with Damon, who's always outspoken. He's next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
I'm here with Robert Cox, kitchen manager of the Rendezvous Restaurant. Tell us about those great ribs at the Rendezvous.
Rendezvous stands alone in a unique barbecue style, only found in Memphis, Tennessee. We don't smoke our ribs, we char broil them. The guys cooking our ribs have been doing it for 30 years. Mr. Charlie Virgos taught the guys the technique himself, and still to this day, they teach newcomers that come in the door. After our ribs come out the pit, we pre-cut every order, so you easily can tear them apart. We baste our ribs on a plate and sprinkle our season all over them.
So Robert, are ribs what everyone comes to the Rendezvous for?
The beef brisket is now our second best seller behind the ribs. We also have lamb riblets, half chicken, pork shoulder, chopped chicken, cheese and sausage plate. Nachos are fantastic. We also carry a Greek salad. The list goes on.
Robert, where can we find out more about all of these great options?
Our restaurant menu is online at hogsfly.com, and recently we just added our catering menu online.
Mr. Charlie Virgos' Rendezvous Restaurant, a family-owned restaurant in downtown Memphis in the alley since 1948.
I'm Dr. George Flynn with Flynn Broadcasting Company. The coronavirus situation is causing a lot of cancellation of events, schools, concerts, sporting events, and all kind of social gatherings. It's called social distancing, but you do not have to be distant mentally from everyone in the community because Flynn Broadcasting is with you. We love you. We want to make sure that you are connected and protected from the coronavirus. So keep listening to this Flynn Broadcasting station. We'll keep you informed, we'll keep you in touch, and we'll keep you connected to your friends. So as soon as this situation is over, we can go back to our normal living. I'm Dr. George Flynn with Flynn Broadcasting Company saying we love our community, we love you as individuals, and we are committed to your well-being.
At Indeed, we understand that when it comes to hiring, it's important to have a large talent pool to choose from. But sometimes too many good options can be overwhelming. That's why Indeed doesn't just give you access to a large pool of job seekers. We also offer screener tools that let you instantly narrow down your search. Hone in on hiring with Indeed. Experience Indeed for yourself today and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting at Indeed.com/promo. Terms and conditions apply.
Your Memphis Tigers football program completed the greatest season in program history with 12 wins, a conference championship, and a berth in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. Season tickets for the 2020 season are on sale now and start at just $100 when you buy 4 in the family fun zone or $150 for end zone seating. Get your season tickets by May 15th and receive a free gift, concessions deals, exclusive access to regular season and postseason tickets, and more. Get your season tickets today at GoTigersGo.com or call 901-678-2331. Memphis Tigers football.
DeSoto Auto Sales specializes in late model cars with low mileage. They have the highest standards in the car industry. All of their cars are test driven, checked out from head to toe. Unlimited inventory, every make and model. And if it's not on the lot, they'll find it for you. Walk in the door of DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Within 45 minutes, you can test your car, get credit approval, and finish paperwork within an hour. No shortcuts at DeSoto Auto Sales. Kind, courteous employees, a down-home environment. DeSoto Auto Sales cares about your time. Lowest prices in a 350-mile radius. We're living in a world today where time does matter. Visit them online. Check out their referrals. DeSotoAutosales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and other surrounding areas. DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Call 662-890-7184. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto Auto Sales.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sportstime on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sportstime is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
This hour brought to you every day by DeSoto Auto Sales down at Goodman Road, 5704 Goodman Road. Visit them online at DeSotoAutoSales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and the surrounding area. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales, where all the cars are test-driven, checked out from head to toe, unlimited inventory, every make, every model. If it's not on the lot, they'll go out and find it for you. No shortcuts taken at DeSoto Auto Sales. You walk in, you're treated like family by kind, courteous employees, laid-back, down-home atmosphere. No high-pressure sales, but they do care about your time, and they want you to enjoy the ultimate car experience. Exactly what is that? You walk in, within 45 minutes, you test drive your car, get credit approved, paperwork completed, and you're gone in time to do it over your lunch hour or immediately after work. They know we're living in a world today that time really matters, and it's that simple. Check out the referrals at DeSotoAutosales.com, 5704 Goodman Road, 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales.
Welcome back in as we begin our final hour. And just so you know, coming up at the bottom of the hour, Ryan Silverfield, the head football coach of the University of Memphis. We chatted with him a little bit earlier in the program. We will replay that interview to see how our the Tiger head football coach is coping with all this time off, what he's doing, how he is staying busy, and everything like that. In the meantime, I think we're going to Forest Grove, Oregon. So The first thing I want to do is I want to congratulate our friend Damon Stoudemire on winning the Ben Jobe Award. That is for the top minority coach in college basketball for this particular season. A very good season for Pacific. Damon, congratulations on that. But while checking out, trying to figure out where the heck you were, are you in Forest Grove, Oregon? Because there's a bunch of different Pacific campuses. Where in the heck are you?
And I was about to tell you, man, you might need to let me do your intro. Forest Grove is NAI. That's where we used to have training camp when I was with the Blazers, before practice facilities and all that. We're in Stockton, California. Mike Wolo of Candy was the number 1 pick.
Stockton, California. I am so sorry.
The Pacific Tigers.
I could not figure it out.
You listen. I correct people like that all the time, but just don't come through here because these people ain't too fond of that. Boy, they get pissed off about it. But they about as proud of this place as people is of Memphis. Trust me on that one, man. They don't like nobody talking about this spot, boy. I tell you, boy, that's the first thing I learned when I was here.
Hey, Damon, can you name the number 1 Pacific football player of all time? The Pacific Tiger number 1 football player of all time, an old Los Angeles Ram. He was a great player.
Now, listen, I'm not going to sit up here and act like I know that because they have dropped football. But this is what I say. It's been a lot of great names to come out of here and get their start in coaching at Pacific, though. That's what I did find.
Sure has.
So what's the name?
Dick Bass. Dick Bass for the Rams. Dave, you remember Dick Bass, don't you?
I do remember Dick
Running
Bass.
back.
But I want to know the great names that preceded you at Pacific that went on to greatness, because I know you're going to. But share that. Who else has gone through Pacific?
Man, I'll just say one name, and that takes the cake right there. That's Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll. Oh wow!
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that.
Well, we won't even go no further than Pete. Now we'll talk about a graduate assistant named John Gruden.
Ah, wow! All these are football guys.
I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna quit talking. You know, the 49. This is where the 49ers used to hold their camp at. 49ers used to hold camp back in the day. So, like a lot of the legends, when I came down here, that's when I got schooled on a lot of things. Actually, Hugh Jackson got his start here too. But no, that legendary path of that hill where Jerry Rice used to run up and take all them guys,
right?
Run that path in them hills. That's right around here.
Wow.
So it's a lot of history. Unfortunately, they did let football go a long time ago. But yeah, it's unfortunate. They do got a a pretty good pass, in terms of, what they did. Matter of fact, they still have a lot of reunions, football reunions. And when we travel on the road, obviously, we play a lot of games in California. A lot of the football players actually come to the games, the old guys. So, that's kind of how they hang their hat.
You had a great year this year, Damon. You had a great year, and you're well on your way. You're doing a great job.
I appreciate it. It's not easy. It's different. It's different. Different than what I've been used to. When I say different than what I've been used to, obviously I'm talking about from levels, from a money standpoint, things of that nature. And one thing about it, I tell you what, I've enjoyed every minute of it. With these kids that I got, they make it easy. We've been able to do a great job, and we've been able to flip it. And the biggest thing about it is the first year off probation. We have a year like we had. So I was happy about that.
How many? You mentioned all these great big names for football. How many basketball coaches or stars have been a part of that program before you took it?
Well, in terms of basketball, it's been more team oriented. Coach Thomason was here. The guy Coach Thomason had been here, I think, 25 years.
Wow.
And then his assistant took over. And then whatever happened, and then that's when I took over. So, they had the same guy here 25 years. Obviously the most famous alum would be, Michael Wolo with Candy.
Number one pick.
It's for me, it's a great place. I've been able to learn even more on the run, under the radar. You make mistakes, but the best thing about it is you don't make mistakes in front of everybody's eyes. So, it's been great for me, from a learning standpoint, understanding a lot of things that, quite frankly, I thought I knew, but I didn't know. Sitting in an assistant coach's seat, So it's more than just wins and losses. It's been a great experience for me.
I remember a bunch of people saying to you, Damon, your future is so high. Don't take this job. But
Right.
But it's turned out to be you were the smart guy in taking it.
Well, I don't want to sit up here and say all that. I think that this is what I would say. However, my coaching career, goes, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, right? It doesn't really matter to me from that standpoint, because I just have always been the type of guy that bet on myself. You know what I mean? So for me, I knew the obstacles when I took the job. There were no illusions, and it was pretty much clean cut, and clear what I had to do and what I was taking over, what I was inheriting. We were going to be on 3 years probation. We were going to have a reduction in scholarships. We were going to have 40 less recruiting days. I can keep on going on and on and on and on. But,
right.
It doesn't really matter. The thing about it is that it was an opportunity. Whether that was Christian Brothers in Memphis, Tennessee, it would have been opportunity. That's just kind of how I am. I roll up my sleeves. Even as a basketball player, it was never given to me. So it's something that, is rewarding. It's something that's rewarding. And quite frankly, it's been a group effort, man. It's crazy, It's like the things that go on here. We're a small institution, 6,000 people. Like some of the stuff I'm about to throw out at you, it's kind of like at night when I would lay in the bed, I used to laugh to myself and giggle a lot when we would win games from the standpoint of, we only got 6 staff members. Like, I'm going to say it again. We got 6 staff members, counting me, the head coach, the 3 assistants, a video guy, and an ops guy. We don't have managers. We don't have grad assistants. We don't have graduate assistants. We don't have none of that because we can't
strength
afford
coach.
That. The strength coach is everybody's strength coach. It's not just our strength coach.
Okay.
So it's just different, man. It's like mom and pops. It's old school. It's like when I was in college. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's why I laugh. Like, you know what I mean? Because I know what we really had to do here. You know what I mean? Nobody would really understand unless they came and seen everything. You got to see everything. You can't just see from afar. You got to see everything, and you got to understand, because had they got any other coach other than me, and I told them this too, and I told them, I said, so understand, like, I'm good. Like, I'm good. Like, I don't want to, like, right now they, and I'm not ashamed to say it because we're all on the same page here. They tried to give me more money. I don't want more money. Give me buy money so I can go buy some games. I don't care about making more money. Like, that's not gonna help me. Like, what's gonna help me is getting some money to buy games. You know what I mean? Like
sure.
Right now, what I'm doing right now, this is what I do. This is what I've been doing for like the last 3 days. All I do is study. I study rosters and I study rosters of as many P5s that I can and as many schools that surround in this area. That's all I do is I study schedules, study rosters, study their last year's schedule, study rosters, who's coming, who's going, who they're involved in. And man, scheduling scheduling is so tricky. Like, you got to know how to schedule. You got to know what you're doing. Like, it's just a whole lot of things to this and how I got to do it that's different than everybody else because I don't have the money. I can't just throw the money. But obviously, I'm still in a tough league, and that's what people don't understand. Like, my league has 621 teams this season, and it was about to be a 3-bid league. And, it's a tough league, so you gotta do the right things and make the right moves, or you'll mess around and be in 9th, 10th place.
Yeah, it is a very, very, very tough league. And Damon Stoudemire, for a guy like you, big time college star, Final Four participant, big time NBA star, almost 12,000 points. So you're viewed as a college and an NBA star, but you really want to be the college basketball coach. That's the route you want to take. You're not intrigued by NBA jobs. You want to be the college guy, don't you?
This is going to sound crazy. I'll relate this back to what I was saying. I'm just up for challenges. It's not a matter of where I'm coaching. I just really like helping kids.
Yeah.
I will be honest with you. Like, I didn't really get into this for all the rest of it. Like, one of the best things, I'll relate this story. And he's had a lot of trials and tribulations since he left school. But one of the biggest things that I take pride in is when I was an assistant at Memphis, and I coached Joe Jackson. I remember everybody was saying this and telling me about Joe and yada, 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 this, that, and the third. I'll never forget when I ended up leaving to go to Arizona, and I talked to Joe, and Joe said, man, for the 2 years you was here, he said, man, I never played and felt as comfortable playing basketball ever as when you was here. He said, you made the game so easy on me. That made me feel so good. Like, it did, like, cause that's all I care about. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I bet.
And then when he told me that, I looked back on it and I forgot, and I looked back on it, and I looked back at Joe's junior year when he was when he was CUSA Player of the Year, and that year, Joe almost shot 50 from the floor, 40 from the line, and 50 from the floor, 50 from the floor, 40 from the three, and 90 from the line. He almost shot that season. And I was like, man, and all I used to tell Joe was, you got to relax. You got to, just the stuff that people used to tell me. And, like, for me, like, that's all I care about. That's really all I care. So, answer your question. I just say that to say, answer your question. It doesn't really matter, as long as I'm helping impact kids, impact players, whether it's in college, whether it's in the pros. I just want to still be able to make it and have the same kind of joy of playing this game that I had when I was playing. That's
You were talking about your league, how good it is. Gonzaga, BYU, St. Mary's, all three of those were going to make the tournament. I agree with you there. You're the fourth-place team in that league. I'm just curious, since you were talking about money, what is your budget compared to Mark Few's?
We're not gonna talk about that. I don't want to divulge the budget, because you know what? It's like I said, the biggest thing is like, I knew the job I was taking. So I guess why I'm saying that is that the lumps I was taking early on, I knew the job I was taking. You know what I'm saying? So it was no different. Let's be clear in saying this, because where Gonzaga is today is doing injustice to what Mark has actually built. Because I remember being from the Northwest when I was growing up, it didn't always look like that. So this has been over the course of time to where he's got program to where that program looks the way it looks. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't. And he has done a great job, him, and the rest of his staff have done a great job of building that thing up, because it's been over the course of time. So at one point he had to start where I was, but to their credit, what they've been able to do is they've been able to sustain winning. And then over the last, let's call it 5 years maybe, they've been able to take, like, for instance, the recruiting to another level. Like, they get the same kid that everybody else get now. You know what I mean? Like, they get that kid. They got a top 5 kid this year in the country. So they get that same kind of kid. So, he's not on a level playing field with the rest of our conference in terms of budgets and things like that. But, I don't want to take away from what they've been doing. Man, they earned that.
Sure.
So when you start winning, people step up, right? So, at some point we're going to get this thing right over here. But, right now, you just deal with what you deal with. You play the hand you was dealt. And truth be told, that's what I'm best at. You just got to know how to wheel and deal. And, that's what this thing is all about. So that's what I'm going to do until I get the big bucks.
I'm sure that's coming for you, no doubt. What did the Ben Jobe Award, that's for the top minority coach of the year, what did that mean to you?
It meant a lot from the standpoint of, actually met Coach Jobe for the first time when I was assistant at Memphis. Sat and talked for about 2-3 hours, and it was a great conversation. So to be able to win that award with his name on it was great. But even greater, is that as we start digging into our conversation, when I was a rookie in the NBA, we were in training camp out in Hamilton, Ontario. My first year in Toronto, first training camp. And there was an older man that would come and talk to me every single day for like 2 weeks. And I just didn't know who this man was, and I thought I was a basketball historian. And he would talk to me about pushing the ball, fast break basketball. And I'm just like, dang, man, who is this guy? So I go and, I asked Isaiah Thomas, I said, man, who is this older guy that's talking to me every day? And you got to understand, it wasn't any Google and cell phones back then. Now, it was just, you just either knew or you didn't. And I had been talking to 2 weeks to John McClendon, who for all the people that don't know, he's probably the pioneer of the Four Corners. The legend has it that back in the day when it was segregation, they would play North Carolina back then, and that's where Dean Smith got the Four Corners from. So he was one of the pioneers, and he was one of the people that helped pave a way for a lot of us, minority coaches, and to kind of have all that come full circle, it's just amazing, to be honest with you.
And I'm just so thrilled for you flipping the program, as you said, and now winning this. And what's next for you? You like it enough in Pacific to stay a long time, or do you aspire to go to a program that's got money?
Well, I think money. I think with wins comes money. I just think what I always say is, guys, is that for me, I don't do it for the money myself, but what I do it for is to try to see these kids achieve things that even for some of them they probably didn't think they can achieve. I put myself in position to be able to recruit players now that probably wouldn't come to Pacific any other way or any other way. It's a good time for us. I'm just trying to capitalize on the moment. For whatever reason, man, I'm gonna live life day to day. It's like whenever I start to get ahead of myself, it never happens for me. So I'm just focused on being the best I can be today and helping my program, keep building brick by brick. And, the rest of the things that I don't have no control over, they'll be what they're going to be. But if I control the controllables every day, then everything will be perspective for me.
Well, you've been kind enough to chat with us today. I guess my last question for you would be this. With the coronavirus the way it is, how bad is it around Stockton, California? And is everybody hunkered in and quarantined?
Yeah, I think, everybody's listening around here. I mean, I think that other than the essential things, obviously that's going to the store and things of that nature. I mean, the streets are pretty bare, and I think we've had maybe 2 deaths out here, and maybe about 50 reported. But figuratively speaking, for where I'm at, it's actually not a lot. So hopefully we can get this thing kind of under wraps, man, and manageable. Because it's just a weird time. I think it's a weird time in the country for everybody. I think we kind of all out of character right now, but the best thing to do is to do what we've been told and just kind of stay out the way for a little bit. And I tell people this: how many times, unfortunate the reasons that we're doing it, but how many times do you actually have a chance to just kind of sit back and unwind, reflect, relax? Because whenever they say go again, for everybody, it's going to be go. You know what I mean? And it's going to be nonstop. So sit back, relax, reflect, think, unwind, and just, take it day by day and kind of try to maybe even do something that you haven't done, So, we don't have a choice. So I think that's been the motto of a lot of people around here. Now that it's starting to become, what are we? I think we're out here. I know this is probably about day 9, for what they would call lockdown. So they enforce the curfew, things of that nature. So we'll see. But for the most part, everybody's trying to stay safe. Kids are back home. Most of my team, they went back home. I got an international student that's still here, but other than that, the rest of the team went back home. And all uncertainty, we'll just worry about that when everything is figured out. I'm not gonna worry about, like I said, don't worry about things we can't control. Just kind of, keep doing the things that we need to do, so we can get through this trying time.
Damon, as always, it's wonderful chatting with you. Stay healthy.
It sure was.
We miss you here in Memphis, I can tell you that. And I'm so thrilled for you with all the success, and I know you're going to keep it going.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Dave, man. Y'all have a good one, man. I'll let y'all.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will. Thank you, Damon. Be safe.
That is Damon Stoudemire, coach at the Pacific, and a guy, he was just a terrific assistant here. There's no doubt about it for Josh Pastner, and what a great player he was as well. This portion of the show brought to you by James Davis. I just called over there to be sure. Yes, they are still open by appointment only. So call James Davis, appointment only, and curbside delivery. Once you've had your appointment and you've gotten everything set and they're doing their thing, curbside delivery. They're going to make sure you're safe and that you still get the great men's clothing that you will always get from James Davis in the Laurelwood Shopping Center. 20% off all the seasonal sports coats and suits. The Paul Batinley suit still going on. It's a steal. 2 suits for $795. Basically, you're saving $400. Also, another spring incentive. You spend over $250, they'll take $50 off the total price. And, I've been bragging for years about Stance shirts and that system for custom shirts. They've got them in pants now. You just take 2 measurements, and the computer will spit out through an algorithm a perfect fit try-on pair of pants. It could be jeans. It could be casual dress, 5-pocket or plain front for $168. It's perfect in the waist. It's perfect in the rear. It's perfect on your leg. It's amazing. It's the new Stant shirt and pant algorithm, and you can only find it at James Davis Men's Store in the Laurelwood Shopping Center. We take a break. When we come back, we'll chat with the head football coach of the U of M. Ryan Silverfield is next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy get you through the midday with Sports 56 Middays. Delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 till 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
When things come out of left field, and boy, can't they, having a game plan can make all the difference. Luckily, Farmers Insurance has been helping people cover their bases for more than 90 years, and they can help you too. Let your local Farmers Insurance agent, Chad Gatlin, put his experience to work for you. Chad proudly serves greater Memphis families and businesses, and he's ready to review your existing policies or provide you a no-obligation quote today. Call Chad at 901-235-1176. That's 901-235-1176. Or visit memphisfarmers.com to get smarter about your insurance. At Farmers, they've seen almost everything, so they know how to cover almost anything. Talk to Chad today to see if you have the coverage you want for whatever curveballs may come your way. Call 901-235-1176 or go to memphisfarmers.com.
If you're going on vacation, making a college campus visit, or if business takes you out of town, there's just no better place to board your dog than Barks and Recreation, 965 Reddick Cove between Bud Davis Cadillac and the Blue Plate Cafe in East Memphis. Boarding, daycare, grooming, we have the best of everything at Barks. Indoor-outdoor kennels so your family member can go in and out as they please. Indoor and outdoor play areas. 4 walks a day. Group play and individual attention from the best staff in the Mid-South, which includes an overnight staff to ensure the safety and comfort of your pet 24 hours a day. All reasons to choose Barks and Recreation above all other boarding and daycare facilities. BarksDaycare.com or 509-0909. Check us out and make your reservations now at BarksDaycare.com. If your dog could speak, he'd say Barks.
Central Barbecue is committed to the health and safety of this community, who has supported Central for almost 20 years. Central Barbecue is still open for business with to-go and delivery options to serve the greater Memphis area with the same great barbecue you have come to know and love. With 4 locations to serve you, from downtown, midtown, and East Memphis, you can order your favorite barbecue and enjoy everything on the menu in the comfort of your own home. Call your nearest Central Barbecue location for more information on delivery and to-go options today.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Welcome back in. A reminder, the folks at Southern Social and Coastal Fish Company, Flight and Porch and Parlor, they are still open for business. So whether you live downtown, whether you live in Midtown like Overton Square, East Memphis, all the way out to Germantown, they have got you covered with curbside service. You can pick up or you can do delivery. They've got these new deals where you can get fresh fish from the Coastal Fish Company. If you call that day, you can go pick up. If you want it delivered to your house, call the day before. They are doing all kinds of special things with this fish market special. Every day they change the menu, and it's all fresh. It's all flown in. It will wow you. Also, this restaurant group, I love what they're doing. They are trying to help out their waiters and their bartenders, all the work staff. If you're inclined and you're looking for ways to help out, they're going to have a celebration party, a different night in each restaurant. And they're taking basically orders for that party now, and they'll take that money and distribute it to the wait staff and to the bartending staff. They'll do that now in preparation for the celebration that will come when we're all allowed to come back. So just know, all these great restaurants, Southern Social, Coastal Fish Company, Flight, and Porch and Parlor, they're still in business with pickup and delivery. A little bit earlier, we got to chat with the head football coach of the University of Memphis. Football coach of the University of Memphis. And Ryan, as I bring you in, I read a nice story in the Daily Memphian. I can't remember if it was yesterday or today, but in it, you were quoted as saying, we really don't have a manual for what I'm going through right now. Welcome to, I guess, being a head coach, but in the most trying and strangest of times. How are you holding up?
Good. Appreciate you guys having me on today. But holding up well. Like I've been saying since this whole thing started, it's my number one concern is the safety and welfare of our student athletes. Obviously the Memphis community and the country, but I've got 96 young men out there spread throughout that. My number one concern is their safety and welfare. So that's where my thoughts are most of the day.
How do you keep up with 96 guys when the vast majority of them are not around here?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is we've got a wonderful coaching staff and support staff, and it truly now more than ever, it's all hands on deck, even though we're spread out ourselves and, a lot of us working from home in different areas. But communication's got to be the number one deal, right? Especially as the student athletes at the University of Memphis have started school back this Monday. It's really, okay, checking on their academics, right? Every day when we check on them, it's, okay, are you healthy? How are you feeling? How's your family? Okay, great. Now, here's your academic assignments, or how are you doing those? Because, when you're used to these guys being able to come up to a building for study hall or, sit down next to a tutor or academic advisor, that's one thing. And then now all of a sudden you're saying, okay, hey, you may be down in Louisiana and, you, instead of getting up at 8 a.m., now you're not getting up till 9 to do these things. So it's, it's our job to keep track of all these guys. And, I'm not a computer whiz or very tech savvy, but, I've learned how to FaceTime and use Zoom and all those other wonderful tools that have allowed us to be able to keep in touch with our guys.
Coach, I'm with you. I didn't know Zoom existed. Now, I used it earlier today, and a lot of technology for us older dogs having to learn some new tricks. Isn't it, Coach? How are you? Have you sent each of your men, your young men that play for you? Have you sent them conditioning? Have you sent them diet? Have you sent them mental health, welfare? Have you sent everything to them that you want some regimen for them to follow?
Absolutely. So, the biggest thing for us is, once under the leadership of Dr. Rudd and Laird Beach, is, okay, here's what's set in place in our current plan. And we all know that for all of us, these are uncontrollable and fluid times. So, the best thing is to expect the unexpected and be able to adjust accordingly. So, with every time we create a plan is, okay, now what can we get in front of our players? And, it's an academic structure through their day, make sure they're being checked on. And then, our strength coaches have had, like you think about a lot of these guys, 99% of them have no weight equipment at their homes, wherever it is that they call home or may be. And so is it, okay, hey, is it a body weight workout? Is it, doing jumping jacks and push-ups, the old Herschel Walker workout? And so, how can we keep track of that if it's a player that may have a weight issue, whether it's weighing too much or weighing too little? Try to get to a scale if it's in a safe environment and send us a picture of that, just so we can keep tabs on them. Like I said, first and foremost, their health. Secondly, included with that is their academics. And then, okay, now from a football conditioning standpoint, making sure they're not just all sitting on the couch probably like I would have done at that age.
You're so on the money with, I guess, doing push-ups, sit-ups, as you said, Herschel Walker, just natural strength, the way he did that. Because I really was wondering, you can't go to a gym, or at least around Memphis. I know the gym that I belong to has closed down. I know a bunch of them have closed down too. So that's a real problem. You can always go ride a bike, or you could run. I guess you can still run on the Green Line if you're in Memphis. But you're really, so you can get some cardio, but to get the basic resistance training, that's a dilemma for everybody, isn't it, Ryan?
Yeah, no question. It's, kudos to our young men. It's you see them posting even on social media. This morning, Manny Arona Lopez was somewhere in Michigan with his girlfriend in the middle of the woods, and he was doing squats. I think it was her grandmother maybe filming it, and he had her on his back, and he was being creative and a leg workout that way. And we've seen, guys running in fields in the middle of nowhere, some guys in their garage, doing different things with milk jugs. And so, our young men are creative and ambitious and want to do things the right way. And that's just the biggest key. As long as they're doing it in a safe environment, I applaud them for making those efforts given these circumstances.
And going back
if
to
this
something...
were to break your way and we get the football season in, Coach Silverfield, would you like a spring in late June? Would you like an extended camp time instead of the August 1st starting date? Maybe start July 20th just in shorts and maybe shells, maybe headgear. What would you like if we finally saw light at the end of this COVID-19 tunnel?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we actually had a conference head coaches meeting, teleconference this morning, and kind of bouncing some ideas off each other. Biggest thing is, some of our teams in our conference had already had spring ball, or had some practices. And, Arkansas State, who we opened the season with, I believe got 12 spring practices. And just like any head coach, right, the competitive advantage is on the back of the mind quite often. And so any way that we'd be able to find a way, even if it's helmets only, get some of those practices back that we weren't able to get, truly, be appreciative. But obviously it's, up to the NCAA and the guidelines, and we can have our voices. And, Laird Beach and I spoke this morning actually about some of those things. Okay, hey, if this happens, and however we got to do it, obviously you got to be smart with the players. You don't want to overtrain them. You have to have them ready for the season. And so you find that balance, right? Like, do you bring them back for, 2 weeks prior to training camp, and then do I turn it into like an OTA mentality where we're doing walkthroughs and things of that nature, just so we're able to get out on the field and throw the football, something that, we really haven't been able to do since really December.
Well, the thing of fairness comes into my mind right off the bat. If Arkansas State, which is the team you're going to have to play, had 12 in there already, then they should have if there's an extended period when this thing starts in July, if that's the case, then it would seem that they would have limited amounts of the extended period of time compared to you. And it does get tricky. I hear what you're saying. Let's just say you got extra time. How much of that is used in pads? How much of that is just looking at video? How do you divvy that out? You have to change your whole approach, don't you?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Dave. I mean, it's you can't sit there and say, okay, well, look, they still need to go to class. So whether it's the 20-hour rule, for football, or the 8-hour rule, in the off season, it's find that fine balance. And if it's the summer where then maybe only taking 3 hours or 6 hours, and maybe you can allot for more time to get out there on the practice field. So, obviously you want your guys to be football ready in shape, whether it's lifting and running, and so you can be most physically ready team as far as conditioning and weightlifting. But also, look, how much do we need to study? We got a new defensive staff implementing a new defensive scheme where, half our team hasn't even, the understanding of what it truly is like because they haven't been on the practice field with our defensive staff. So those things, you keep in the back of your mind, and you got to find a way. And I was talking to some of these other coaches. We can't all sit here and pretend like we're all geniuses and try to reinvent the wheel while our guys aren't here. We have to be creative and better teachers. So when we do get to see our guys and probably get the opportunity to be in the classroom with them, are we getting the most out of that limited time, whether it's, in a 20-hour week or 8-hour week, however that looks.
So the most difficult adjustment for you is going to be on the defensive side, right? Because you are changing scheme slightly with Mike McIntyre. He doesn't really know your personnel like you do. So I'm guessing your defensive guys are going to need a lot more work than the offensive guys who, for the most part, are all coming back, and you're using the same system that Mike Norvell used with Coach Johns in charge, and he was a big part with you of that scheme anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you do bring in a new system and new coaches, that's obviously where we would need to. Those guys, those players need to spend a lot of their focus on. Obviously, the offensive guys, got to refresh, and we got obviously new players, some great playmakers that we have to replace. But I mean, for Coach McIntyre on the defensive side, it's trying to get those guys adjusted. And I know we got the right guys on the defensive side, player-wise, and the coaching staff's phenomenal. And that's why those guys are all hired and in place. And I know they'll do a terrific job of getting the guys ready.
You got a great one in Mike McIntyre. You got a great defensive staff. Coach Ryan Silverfield, when you visit with athletics director Laird Veach, in y'all's heart of hearts, do you think we have football?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I mean, it's I've kept nothing but optimistic attitude and a bright outlook on the way this thing is. Obviously, no one knows what the COVID-19 will look at, like, but we're all hopeful. We're all, praying and understanding that, right, the timetable to get back on April 6th may continue to get stretched longer, and a better understanding. It's just a matter of when we'll get back. There's greater things in the world to be concerned about than when football will start back. And but when it does, and I have great confidence that it will at some point, we'll be ready to roll.
Well, the other thing would be the constraints. Let's just say you go back to school on April the 6th. I guess a bunch are already really taking stuff online, but at this point you can't congregate more than 10 people. you need 100 people or more that can congregate. So you got to get to that. If they're, I mean, we're pretty much assured we're not going to get spring practice at all. Correct? Would this have to be an extension of, an extension of your fall camp if we're going to have any extra practice, right?
Right. Due to NCAA rules, it states that you cannot have spring football after final exams. So, in fact, there's, obviously the rules are going up back and forth with the way this is during this environment. But we would not be able to have any type of practices prior to exams, and then after exams, spring ball is done with. So even if they're all 9 exams, the window is getting closer and closer to closing on having a traditional spring practice. So we'll see what happens. And again, a lot of that is out of our hands. I can just vote in the favor that I believe it's best for our university and our football program.
Just so far, because we've seen this thing get close to home in a lot of different areas, NBA players, Jackson Brown today, anybody from, I'm talking mainly parents here or grandparents, have there been any connections with the University of Memphis football team or staff to anybody with the coronavirus thus far?
No, sir, not to my knowledge.
That's great. Fantastic. I'm into that.
Yeah, keeping our fingers crossed. And the biggest thing we can do is continue to remind everybody, our student athletes and their families, and the city of Memphis, right? All those people that we know. Even while I'm, on the radio right now, is just a reminder to be smart. Let's take this one day at a time approach and do it the right way. Abide by the rules. What's asked of us. Use social distancing. Don't leave the home unless you absolutely have to. Continue to wash your hands, and we'll get through this thing, right? We got to stay strong and unite as one. And, brighter days are ahead.
Well, I certainly admire what you and the staff are doing. If you get a hold of all 96 guys every day, that is outstanding. And I know they're going to class online, and I'm with you. I don't think there will be any kind of a spring practice, but hopefully we'll get a fall practice in. And, Coach, we thank you for giving us so much of your time today.
Well, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on. And then, again, as a reminder to the city, do the right thing, guys. Be safe, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you guys face-to-face here in the near future.
That is Ryan Silverfield. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Always a pleasure to talk with him. And as Brett said right after that interview, what a great hire. The U of M knew exactly what they were doing, and the continuity is just going to be great. And I don't think Tiger football program, provided we start, is going to miss a beat. This portion of the show brought to you by Supercuts, 15 locations in the area. What a great job the Czech family has done. 30 years ago, they came to town. They opened up the first. Now, here we are with 15. Supercuts.com, that's the website you go to find the location nearest to you. Once you've done that, you walk through the door and get your hair cut. Now, I'm not sure, honestly, that we can do that right now. But as soon as we can, this is the place to go. They know every cut, all the details, every fashion, and every haircut ends with a hot towel finish. It's invigorating and relaxing all at the same time. It's super. It's Super Cuts. Back in a minute. We got crunch time and a whole lot more to finish this, the Wednesday edition of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Can anyone explain to me why anyone would care how I measure your roof? We have all heard about measuring your roof from outer space. Well, to be honest, there are aerial pictures that are taken every 4 years that can be used to measure a building, but it's not from outer space. Besides, no one, and I mean no one, can tell you what's wrong with your roof or even if you need one by using pictures that might be 4 years old. If you would rather do business with a family-owned and operated business with a lifelong tie to Memphis that refuses to mislead or use gimmicks, please give me a call. Best products, best warranties, and the best customer service we know how to provide. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing
It's what we do. We're here for you.
Mid-South Power Distributors is your source for all things diesel. For more than 26 years, they've supplied all the diesel parts that you need. From simple repairs to complete overhauls, they have it all. Whether it's heavy, medium, light duty, agricultural, marine, or off-road, Mid-South Power is the leading source for all things diesel. Fuel injection, turbochargers, engine parts, alternators, starters, and brakes, they can supply all the parts and services you need. Stop in today at 3250 Mill Branch Road in Memphis or call 901-396-0710.
Hey everybody, this is Coach Penny Hardaway. There's a comfort in being home, and to me, comfort food and family makes Memphis the place to be, along with having the best basketball fans in America. I like pulling into Corky's and getting one of their family party packs. How can you go wrong with pork, beans, slaw, sauce, and buns for only $5.99 a person? It is so easy. I can call ahead, order online, or just pop in. Tailgating can't get any easier. Tell them Penny sent you.
Encore flavor, Corky's barbecue.
Your Memphis Tigers football program completed the greatest season in program history with 12 wins, a conference championship, and a berth in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. Season tickets for the 2020 season are on sale now and start at just $100 when you buy 4 in the family fun zone or $150 for end zone seating. Get your season tickets by May 15th and receive a free gift, concessions deals, exclusive access to regular season and postseason tickets, and more. Get your season tickets today at GoTigersGo.com or call 901-678-2331. Memphis Tigers football.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Wolosian and Brad Norsworthy.
Our final portion of the show brought to you by the good folks at Genesis of Olive Branch. Genesis of Olive Branch still open. You still need to service your car. You still need to maybe buy a new car. Want to make yourself feel better, and you know that you want a product that is just amazing? Well, then head down Lamar into Mississippi. The very first exit's Craft Road. Turn left. You'll see the best luxury cars that I think are being made today. The technology that is, well, it's ingenious. It's safe. I hit a button, and I can't go into a lane with an oncoming car. Won't let me go. If I want to accelerate incredibly fast with this new technology, I sure can. I've got the G90, the bigger car. They got a G70. You'll see commercials. It looks like a race car. Some say a James Bond car. It's truly a sports car with a back seat, so it's a little bit more practical. And these cars, with all this technology, they're so good they last forever. You get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty on every new car. Please go see my friends. It's the place that I think is the ideal. It's the standard for the way car business should be. It's Genesis of Olive Branch. It's time for Crunch Time.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
Take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working?
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Woo! Woo!
Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day.
Dave learned today, and I was really sad to hear the economic toll it's going to take on sports worldwide, but what it's going to take on Tokyo and the Japanese government. They have worked so hard to host their first Summer Olympics since 1964, and now they'll have to wait a year. It's just a shame, but little to no alternative. Won't the opening ceremonies, summer of 2021, be really emotional when the dove of peace are released and that cauldron is lit in Tokyo? We will all be emotional and I'm looking forward to it.
Overjoyed is what we will be. And as Rick Horrow sort of assured us today, there will be some costs that will be lost to the Japanese and Tokyo governments, but bottom line is the money is being deferred a year. They should all still do well. I learned today we're still at 170 cases confirmed of the coronavirus in Shelby County, 218 in the metro area. Now we're at 784 in the state of Tennessee, 55,243 in the United States. It appears Governor Bill Lee says the state's asking a waiver from the federal government to provide Medicaid coverage to uninsured Tennesseans with an eye toward helping people who need it from COVID-19. And a lot of other things are being done where it appears that households will start to get money if they need it for emergencies. If they've been employed or were employed by March 11th and then lost their employment, then they will be able, and you'll be reading about the process to start getting some emergency money. We are taking care of each other.
And should, because we can and we should. Could have done without the very real possibility of the Ryder Cup having to move back to the odd year. It used to be an odd year event, and then 9/11, then it changed. President's Cup will have to adjust. ESPN golf writer Bob Herrick said the 2020 major schedule could be the Open Championship first, and then a few weeks later the PGA, then the U.S. Open, and then the Masters, as we agreed earlier. Whenever, however, we get them this year, we'll take it.
I guess I could have done without the story because I just don't know how they can know and start negotiating. But apparently Major League Baseball and the Players Union have agreed the best case scenario for baseball would be to start an early June launch. Players are open to playing doubleheaders. That's good. But consider this. Last year on June 1st, the Washington Nationals played their 58th game of the year on June 1st.
And they were well behind. That was when they were in a real schneid of last year. We'll talk a lot of baseball tomorrow with Tim Doolin at 4:30, keeping a close eye on plenty of things tonight. NBA early entrance, coaching news around college basketball, NFL free agency, more testing, baseball soon with it sounds like some real hard announcements on some dates, and we'll find out more. Tomorrow should have been one of our favorite days of the year. Sweet 16 in college basketball, and opening day in baseball was supposed to be tomorrow. Instead, it's more agony for so many people, but we'll get it back soon, Dave.
I hope so. Mark Cuban set the date June 1st. That's what he said for the over/under. I got to take the over. I'm very hopeful for July 1st. We'll have to wait and see. We want to thank Ryan Silverfield for being part of the show today. TJ Reeves and a walk down memory lane with the NCAA. Rick Horrow, always insightful. How about 859 million people watched that rugby thing last year? That's incredible to me.
And I didn't.
I didn't either. I wasn't included. It's hard to believe the two biggest sports fanatics never knew about darn thing about it.
Never knew it.
And then Damon Stoudemire, what a job he's doing. Always so open and honest. And I really love him, and I congratulate him on getting the Ben Jobe Award. So that'll do it for us today. We'll try to keep you informed again tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great night, everybody.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. It is that time of year where the weather is unpredictable, and given the recent storms, it's a good time to discuss insurance claims. So here's a few things you should know. Always hire a local contractor, because if you have a problem with your roof down the road, you want to be able to find him. Never allow anyone to pressure you into signing a contingency contract. They're used as sales tools, making you feel committed, and the truth is, those contracts are not worth the paper they're written on. Be careful of door-knocking salesmen. Some are reputable, but many are not. They canvass the neighborhood and tell everyone to file a claim, working their percentages and not caring if you file a claim even when they know the likelihood of it being approved is low. Some will even damage your roof, hoping to convince the adjuster it's storm damage. That's fraud, and contractors have gone to jail for that. So do your research and know who you're hiring. Five-Ash Roofing, the official roof of the University of Memphis Athletic Department. Fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Upon official review, the ruling on the field stands. First down.
We deliver jerseys, funny foam fingers, and everything you need to get ready for the game. But what you really get when FedEx